What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 7LF Chapter 101 Artificial Devil Fruit Phantom Beast Species. Can this devil fruit be modified? It can be modified with the potion made by SIQ. Xia Luo asked curiously. SIQ potion is the result of 20 years of research by Indigo. It has the effect of transforming ordinary creatures into powerful upgraded creatures. This change not only strengthens the physique of the original creature, but also makes its shape more ferocious. Unfortunately, this devil fruit cannot be modified with current technology. Gai Sa first nervously said something that might disappoint Xia Luo, and then immediately added. However, with the technology of SIQ potion, coupled with the blood factor technology of Judge and I, we may be able to create a more powerful artificial devil fruit species in the future. This 1Q plant is really magical. It actually allows ordinary creatures to evolve into unknown forms. Give me another 4 years. No, 2 years. As long as there are sufficient funds, I will definitely create new sad raw materials. After talking about 1Q, Guy became extremely excited and kept promising Xia Luo that he could develop a new type of fantasy beast called Devil Fruit. Xia Luo lowered his head and fell into deep thought. The time was just right. If more technical talents join, maybe this time will be moved forward faster. Thinking that Xia Luo was dissatisfied with the time, Guy was so nervous that he hurriedly explained. Well, it only takes 2 years, guys, keep it up. It is said that Vegapunk is about to develop a clone of Paramecia Devil Fruit's ability. If this continues, you will be far behind Vegapunk. Xia Luo's expression changed and she smiled. The purpose of revealing the information about Vegapunk is to motivate Guy. After all, Guy would be a bit lazy if he didn't enter the state of competition. However, this trick was indeed very effective, and Guy's expression changed instantly. Nani? That guy from Vegapunk actually developed the power of Paramecia Devil Fruit. How is that possible? It should only be Zone Demon Fruit power. Only the bloodline factors can be completely extracted. Damn it. Has this guy gone to the front again? Absolutely unforgivable. Indigo. Start research on evolved creatures immediately. No need to wait for Judge. Let's do the first fusion experiment on evolved creatures first. Guy's expression changed from shocked to nervous, then angry, and finally he shouted anxiously. Obviously, Vegapunk gave him a huge blow and completely aroused his fighting spirit. Well, in short, just use the animals on the island for your experiments. Don't use human beings for experiments. Gaisa, who fell into the experimental maniac mode, waved his hand and agreed before he heard what Xia Luo said clearly. Xia Luo doesn't care either. Anyway, with Indigo here, the other party will completely obey his instructions, and Guya will not act rashly afterwards. Kaya, are you used to being here these days? Xia Luo turned to look at Kaya, who had been taking notes silently. Well, Teacher Indigo has very rich pharmacological knowledge, and I have learned a lot these days. Kaya said with a smile while holding the notepad. Then you have to work hard. I will be the #1 on our ship in the future. The ship's doctor and first biological scientist. Xia Luo said with a smile and touched Kaya's little head. Blue blue brew. At this time, the phone bug on Xia Luo's body rang. Xia Luo took out the phone bug from her arms. It was a pink phone bug with curly eyebrows and light pink lipstick. Hello? Reiju. What happened? Xia Luo asked doubtfully after answering the call. Well, a big shot has come to the island and wants to see you, Captain Xia Luo. Big shot. Xia Luo became even more confused. How come I just settled here not long ago, and someone came to my door so quickly? A guy who can also be called a big shot by Reiju. Could it be that several other 4 emperors are coming? Wait a moment, I'll be here soon. After saying that, Xia Luo immediately hung up the phone, then turned on observation Haki's perception and headed towards Reiju at full speed. The other side. After Xia Luo hung up the phone, Reiju looked at the man in front of him seriously. What a rare visitor. I didn't expect that Charlotte Linlin would actually send you out. What is the important matter? The second in command of the BIGMOM pirates, Charlotte Katakuri. Well, let's wait until the real leader shows up. Besides, the second in command is overly praised. Compared to me, your recent reputation is much louder. You, who have been helping Golden Lion 2 Xia Luo handle affairs, are vaguely known as the second in command of the Xia Luo pirates in the outside world. The Princess of Germa, Vinsmoke Reiju. Like Reiju, Katakuri is also very afraid of the Reiju in front of him, not only the opponent's strength, but also her intelligence and other excellent abilities. Her reputation in the underground world has surpassed that of Nami and others who have higher bounties than her, and she is ranked as the second in command of the Xia Luo pirates. It is only the responsibility of the crew to solve the captain's problems. As for the second in command, just like you, I only have too much praise from the outside world. We still have many outstanding crew members on the ship. Reiju showed a rare happy expression and said while holding his cheek with one hand. It seems that her abilities have been recognized by the outside world, and she is very happy to be able to help Captain Xia Luo. Captain Xia Luo will arrive in a few minutes, please wait a moment. A few minutes later, Xia Luo also arrived at the coast of Longyu Island. Xia Lingxi looked at Keita Yu in front of him with a surprised expression. Unexpectedly, the first person to come to him was his aunt. However, I have nothing in common with the other party. What is the purpose of coming to me this time? Are you trying to marry your daughter again? Big MOM pirates, what do you want to do with me? Curious, Xia Luo asked first. Hello, Sir Xia Luo, this time I am here to extend an invitation to you on behalf of the BIGMOM pirates. This is the invitation letter to the tea party held by my mother. I also ask Sir Xia Luo to come to the tea party. My mother has something important to say, discuss with you. Katakuri took out the tea party invitation and threw it away. Xia Luo gently twisted it with 2 fingers, glanced at the invitation in her hand, and then turned to Katakuri's direction. Tea party? It's interesting. I'll go and have a look if I'm free. Xia Luo casually threw the invitation to Reiju and asked him to keep it. No, Your Excellency Xia Luo must come to the tea party. Katakuri's expression remained unchanged and he said in a cold tone as always. Huh? Are you teaching me how to do things? Xia Luo's eyes instantly turned to Katakuri's direction, and she said with a somewhat disdainful expression. No, it's just a piece of advice to Mr. Xia Luo, because my mother will be unhappy. Asterisk 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 asterisk. If you feel that what I said makes you unhappy, then I will apologize to you here first. Katakuri's expression did not change, he just nodded to Xia Luo and said to him. Sorry for the rudeness just now. Haha, it's interesting. Let me see what new tricks Andy can come up with. Xia Luo finally showed an interested look and agreed to Katakuri's request. The other party was also relieved. If he got into a fight with Xia Luo here, this would not be what he wanted to see. Moreover, if we start a war with a pirate group like Xia Luo, whose strength is comparable to that of the BIGMOM pirates, we don't know how many brothers and sisters will be killed or injured unless it is a last resort. Katakuri definitely doesn't want to start a fight with Xia Luo, but he won't be timid if a fight breaks out. Speaking of which, I'm a little curious, how did you find this place? I've just been stationed here for about 10 days, so no news has spread out yet. The topic took a turn, and Xia Luo asked with a puzzled tone. Well, when Your Excellency moved Punk Hazard to Calm Belt, some pirates took note of it. Through the intelligence search, we also spent a lot of time. It took 10 days to find this place. I see, I didn't expect that it was because the liftoff position at that time was not high enough to be seen. Xia Luo suddenly understood the problem of how to quickly discover the station. In this case, he plans to move the island to the sky, otherwise the hunting dogs of the world government will surely come here after smelling it. Tea party? I've been bored for a few days, it's really time to go out and walk around. Or do you want to give this position to Nami and the others? Instead, he took the initiative to lick his lips, then took Xia Luo's thumb into his mouth and hinted. Reiju is not a little girl now, and of course she will not be very shy because of Xia Luo's behavior. Oh, aren't you going to take Nami and the others with you this time? Reiju raised his eyebrows slightly and said playfully. Then I'll take my leave now. I'm looking forward to Your Excellency Xia Luo's arrival in 5 days. Even the former great pirate Berndi Waldo was infiltrated by these guys. Katakuri stopped disturbing him too much, nodded to Xia Luo, and left with his brothers. Xia Luo slowly walked up behind Reiju and hugged her, gently lifting her chin up to make the other person look at her. Well, after all, we are going to the territory of the 4 emperors. It would be a bit too ostentatious to bring too many companions there. After all, in the original pirate world, these CP organizations were the best at playing undercover and instigating rebellion. Xia Luo raised her eyebrows slightly, and of course she would not let Reiju go hungry. She took the initiative to pick up Reiju and return to the room to feed him. Xia Luo stretched out and enjoyed the depraved life for so many days, which made Xia Luo feel a little settled in the status quo. Well, even I am looking forward to the daytime alone with Captain Xia Luo. Captain Xia Luo has always been very fond of Nami and Karina and spends more time alone with them. This time I finally led them, I got the chance. Even these sons of Whitebeard were instigated by Kainu once, and the world government is quite good at this trick. It would be troublesome if spies were planted on the island. I could only do this to keep these original crew members from coming into contact with members of the CP organization. Reiju, please come with me in 5 days. Chapter 102 Romance exclusively for men. Click. Click. Inside Punk Hazard's laboratory. A pet egg in an incubation device in the laboratory made a clicking sound. The value on the instrument's monitoring panel is constantly rising. But no one noticed the strange movement of this pet egg. Everyone was focused on using animal blood to create blood factors. After Xia Luo's instruction, Gaisa also changed his thinking direction and combined blood factors with SIQ to create a new type of liquid. The blood of Zone Demon Fruit Power is no longer used to make sad as before. Because it had only been 1 day, Gaisa had only roughly adjusted the 2 to a suitable ratio for fusion injection. Now it was the first time to inject it into the body of the mouse. There was a trace of sweat on Guy's forehead, and he held a needle in his upper hand. In front of him was a white mouse that was being tied up and struggling. I don't know what kind of changes will happen, it's really exciting. Guy grinned, revealing a hint of the temperament of a mad scientist, and then. Without hesitation, the liquid was injected into the body of the mouse. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The stabbed mouse struggled in pain. After a long time, the body of this white mouse continued to expand, and its whole body was covered with muscles. Now it is a muscular rat, with powerful strength filling its body, and its eyes have become red due to blood congestion. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Muscle Rat easily broke the leather rope that restrained Geisa, and then kept roaring at Geisa in front of him. The originally docile white mouse became very violent in its behavior. The next second it jumped up and wanted to attack Geisa. Guy looked at the white mouse that wanted to attack, 0-40 inches with great interest, but it exploded before the white mouse came into contact with him. Poor Shushu turned into a pool of blood mist. Huh? Was the dose of the potion too powerful? Or was it not diluted properly? Why did it suddenly explode? Geisa frowned. The explosion of Shushu had nothing to do with them, but was an explosion caused by his own inability to control the powerful evolutionary force. After shaking his head in disappointment, Geisa and the scientists readjusted and fused the potion. In the darkness, a pair of scarlet eyes stared at all the personnel in the base and disappeared in the next second. Ah! A burst of shouts resounding throughout the entire island. So, your previous sad army was almost wiped out? Xia Luo looked at Geisa in front of him with a strange look. At this time, Guy was slumped on the ground with a miserable look on his face, grabbing Xia Luo's trousers, tears streaming down his face uncontrollably. Mr. Xia Luo, you have to make the decision for me. Why was there a big can of sad here just now? All of it was eaten by this little guy. Guy looked grief-stricken, not forgetting to draw a circle with his hand twice to describe it. Then he bit the corner of his clothes and looked at the sleeping creature lying on the jar with a disgusted expression. Xia Luo's eyes also looked in his direction. I saw a strange creature that was as tall as a person with its eyes tightly closed. It has strong limbs, sharp claws, and a sharp beak like an eagle, but it is not exactly the same as an eagle. The most peculiar thing is that this creature has a pair of peculiar wings. It looks like a thick arm connected to 3 carapace barrels, with clear edges and sharp edges. Like the combination of a cannon and a sword, it is completely different from the feather wings and membrane wings of ordinary creatures. Xia Luo recognized this creature at a glance, Sky Dragon. The corners of Xia Luo's mouth slowly raised and she murmured to herself. What Sky Comet Dragon? Master Xia Luo, are you talking about this creature? Is this a dragon? Guy cried like a wronged daughter-in-law, wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, and asked doubtfully. Guy, you did a good job this time. This month's funding has doubled. Well, just tell me what materials you need to make sad, and I will have someone collect them for you. Kicking away Geisa who was pulling down his trousers, Xia Luo couldn't help but step forward with a look of fascination in her eyes. If you want to talk about romance that is exclusive to men, it is of course mechas and dragons. The dragon in front of me seems to combine these two attributes, with graceful lines like a mecha, and the dragon's powerful and handsome appearance. How could Xia Luo not be obsessed with such a handsome pet? Really, thank you so much, Master Xia Luo. Guy, who was kicked away, was not angry. Instead, he looked down with joy. Originally, he just felt distressed that Sad, whom he spent a lot of money on, was ruined in this way, and wanted Xia Luo to punish this little villain for damaging his property. Unexpectedly, Xia Luo would be so bold as to double the already sky-high cost of the experiment. Although Sad can also produce artificial zone devil fruit, it is already outdated compared to current experiments. The new pharmaceuticals produced in the future will definitely be more powerful and stable than the current artificial zone devil fruit. Sad will also be disposed of and sold sooner or later. Now I got an unexpected surprise. If nothing happens, you can go back. Just leave this little guy to me. Xia Luo didn't look at him and waved her hand to indicate that he could leave on his own. So Geisa left here with a brisk pace. Sleep so soundly, little one, you are not defensive at all. Xia Luo came to the front of Tian Weilong and reached out to touch its head. The first thing I felt was a cold touch, and then the scales as hard as steel. Originally, Celestial Comet Dragon was a highly alert creature, but due to eating too much Sad, Celestial Comet Dragon's body was filled with a large amount of unknown energy. So it was forced to sleep to digest this energy, which is why it didn't wake up from its sleep no matter how close Xia Luo and Guy were at first. It wasn't until Xia Luo touched its head that Tian Weilong became alert, and then slowly woke up. I saw it stood up in a daze, then yawned. After really opening its eyes, it jumped back the first moment it saw Xia Luo. The state also became more alert. But after jumping away, it suddenly froze because it felt an inexplicable sense of intimacy from Xia Luo. Then he changed his previous ferocious appearance, jumped up to Xia Luo, and rubbed his head affectionately against Xia Ling's face. Oh, good boy, are you hungry? You haven't eaten this to break your stomach. Xia Luo was also happy holding Tian Weilong's head. She didn't expect how this little guy could return his family. It must be all Tong's credit, otherwise how could a powerful ancient dragon creature get close to him inexplicably? Chirped. Tian Weilong chirped, and then jumped up happily. The wings on his back also sprayed out red dragon energy, surrounding Xia Luo at extremely fast speeds. 4 days passed quickly. The coast of Longyu Island. At this time, Tian Weilong's size has grown to about 15 meters, but it is still only in its juvenile state. It may be because of Gaisa's sad that Tian Weilong's increased growth rate was born. However, this also increased the consumption of food. For 4 days, Caitian Weilong has been hunting Poseidon on the sea. This world is like a paradise to him, with countless large creatures for him to prey on. There are many prey that it catches that are 10 times its current size. Xia Luo, can you take me with you? It must be very dangerous if there are only 2 of you. Now that I have the strength to help, why don't you take me with you? Nami reluctantly left Xia Luo's arms. A few days ago, Xia Luo received an invitation from the BIGMOM pirates, and they also knew about it. Xia Luo still felt a little dangerous about taking Reiju alone. Nami was strongly opposed to Xia Luo taking only one person to the opponent's base camp. Well, we're not going to fight this time. It would be more appropriate for Reiju and me to go together in this situation. We just went over to see what kind of conspiracy Andy wanted to play. We won't start a war for a while, don't worry. Xia Luo smiled and touched her head and explained. Besides, now that Xiaoyan is accompanying us, if anything happens, Xiaoyan can fly us back quickly. Everything will be fine, so don't worry. As he spoke, he patted Tian Weilong beside him, and the other party also chirped at the right moment, which meant, don't worry, leave it all to me. During the 4 days, the girls and Tian Weilong got along well. Because of its silver-white scales, it was also named Little Silver by Nami and others, which is very simple and clear. Oh, I know that no matter what, I can't stop your decision. Be careful. If you get hurt, we will all feel bad. Nami first sighed helplessly as if frustrated, then smiled again, and after speaking, he kissed Xia Luo on the face. Longyu Island will be left to your protection, then we will leave first. Xia Luo hugged Reiju and jumped on Xiao Yin's back, then waved to the girls. Hand. Tian Weilong flew directly towards the sky with a red fierce light that transformed into a ball. From a distance, it looked like a red flame soaring in the sky. Kingdom of Toto Land, Cake Island. Big Mom Charlotte Linlin keeps stuffing various desserts into her mouth. With a satisfied expression on his face, he laughed. Well, it's finally about to start. I can eat all kinds of delicious and sweet cakes this time. I'm really looking forward to it. Katakuri, is that kid here? The aunt asked Katakuri happily. Your Excellency Xia Luo is not here yet, but judging from the other party's intention 5 days ago, he will not be absent. Mom, please don't worry. Katakuri shook his head and said calmly. Well, no one in New World can refuse my invitation. If that kid dares to refuse, then I will go and greet the kid myself. The aunt laughed wildly, and then didn't pay much attention to this matter. She is one of the overlords in this sea. Even if it is the other 3-4 emperors, as long as they offend the aunt, she will not give face and start to do it directly. What's more, it's Xia Luo who was blown to the 5th emperor by Morgans. Auntie, who has never played against Xia Luo in person, still has some contempt for Xia Luo's overall strength. It's not like she hasn't beaten the other 4 emperors and admiral before, but no one can really break her defense. Her evaluation of Xia Luo is that she is just a brat with some strength. What she values is Xia Luo's special physique, guessing that Xia Luo is likely to come from a certain race that was destroyed in the past. It is not necessarily an orphan of the only unknown race left in the world. She thought she was found by the Golden Lion for some unknown reason, and came back to the sea by accident. Big Mom wants to collect all races of humans and become a utopia that unifies all species in the world. This is her dream. Therefore, just wanted Xia Luo to join her pirate group, and for this reason, she did not hesitate to let several of her daughters marry Xia Luo at the same time. Mom, the tea party is about to start. I will go out to deal with the order of the scene. Please wait a moment and you will have delicious snacks soon. Katakuri gestured to his aunt and then walked towards the door. Well, I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait for the tea party. The aunt sitting on the throne drooled all over the floor. The snack I just ate was not even an appetizer, it was just to suppress my agitated heart. In the venue of the Cake Island Tea Party, countless prominent people from New World gathered here. All 6 bosses of the underground world gathered here. News King, Morgans, 3.8 Queen of the Pleasure District Stussy, Lone Shark King, Feld, Shipping King Umit, Hidden Master, Gilbertson, Big Hand Funeral. Master Pycro. The 6 kings who control different areas of the Dark World are already regular guests at tea parties. It's been a long time. Linlin hasn't had a tea party for a long time, Pox. Stussy chuckled twice, showing a mysterious smile. I heard that the world-famous Golden Lion 2, Xia Luo will also come this time. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know what kind of character he will be. The big-handed Undertaker Pycro also took up Stussy's words and brought the topic to Xia Luo. Ha. I'm even more curious about whether Xia Luo will bring the former celestial dragons here. I really want to see what a celestial dragon slave is like. Lone Shark King, Felder let out a weird laugh, curious about whether celestial dragons will appear next. Not long after the few people chatted, the tea party officially started. But Xia Luo still hasn't arrived yet. This made Katakuri frown. Is it true that Xia Luo will not come? At this moment, a comet-like red light passed over the Cake Island. This also attracted the attention of all the powerful leaders present. Everyone raised their heads and stared at the red light hovering above their heads. Enemy attack. The soldiers on alert and the ants' children all shouted nervously. No, it's you who's arrived. Katakuri stretched out his hand to stop several brothers and sisters who had already drawn their weapons. Looking solemnly at the red light in the sky, when the red light slowly fell, it was the figures of Xia Luo and Tian Weilong. Chapter 103. Tian Weilong shocked the audience. What is this? A dragon. This is the first time I've seen such a handsome dragon. It can't be a mutant creature of a dinosaur, it looks too ugly. No, it's definitely not a mutant creature of a dinosaur, don't you feel it? What do you feel? The pressure from the dragon, as well as the pride of the dragon. This dragon-shaped creature definitely has considerable strength. And judging from the look in this dragon's eyes, it definitely has an IQ that is no less than that of a human being. Is there such a creature that has both wisdom and beauty and strength? I'm so envious. I wonder which big shot owns such a rare creature as a mount. If I can buy it, I will definitely buy such a cool dragon as a pet. This rare creature will definitely command a sky-high price. I'm not sure if it's the only one. And the price is definitely several times more expensive than a mermaid. I'm not sure whether I can afford it. Everyone present was talking a lot, and the envious look in their eyes couldn't help showing. They curiously guessed who the person on the dragon's back was, who could be captured by Katakuri. The being called the distinguished guest must be a big shot. After Xia Luo jumped off Tian Weilong's body and everyone saw Xia Luo's face clearly, the prominent bosses present were shocked. Isn't that the Golden Lion 2 Xia Luo, who caused a scene in the Sabaody archipelago a few days ago, killing 2 celestial dragons and kidnapping a female celestial dragons? I heard that he breached the Eni's lobby before the Sabaody archipelago, which was said to be incapable of being breached by anyone, and also killed the top executive of CP9. Afterwards, the world government even sent Vice Admiral to try to lure this person away. 7 warlords of the sea, but nothing happened after the Sabaody archipelago happened. I heard a rumor a few days ago that Xia Luo would come to attend this tea party. I didn't expect this rumor to be true. This is really interesting. The new generation of the 5th Emperor meets the old 4 Emperors. I wonder if a war will break out. Then these 24 miles will turn into a battlefield. Isn't it dangerous? Damn it, I don't want to be affected by the battle between 2 emperors and die here. I wouldn't have come if I had known it. Don't be stupid, this is 4 emperors' ants' territory. No matter how powerful this Xia Luo is, she will not dare to start a war here. And do you dare to refuse Ant's tea party invitation? Afterwards, warriors from all over the world will come to settle accounts with you. That's right. As long as the war doesn't start at this time, it's fine. If you don't get involved in the battle between 2 emperor-level figures, there's nothing you can say. The pirate who asked the question breathed a sigh of relief, but he didn't know that this whisper had already fallen into the ears of someone with a high level of observation Haki. Your Excellency Xia Luo, you are finally here, but your battle is really a bit big. You actually made such a big mess. Katakuri stepped forward. Although his face was calm, his tone revealed a little helplessness. Ms. Reiju, welcome to your arrival. Katakuri then welcomed Reiju on the side. Reiju just smiled and nodded in agreement. Ha 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 ha, I don't want to make any big noise, but it's just because the journey is far away, so I asked Xiaoyan to go faster. Faced with Katakuri's complaint, Xia Luo didn't show any embarrassment at all, she just waved her hand and said with a smile. I shouldn't be late. No, the time is just right, now it officially starts. Oh, there are really a lot of big shots here, including the 6 kings of the Dark World and the famous pirates of the New World. This conversation is really lively. Xia Luo looked around and saw that except for the 4 emperors and a few big pirates from the old era, almost all other respectable pirates were present. Charlotte Linlin is so proud that she was able to call on so many powerful people to hold this tea party in her honor. In addition to the real, big pirates and the 6 kings, the other pirates who were stared at by him shrank their heads. He was afraid of being targeted by this notoriously vicious pirate. Your Excellency Xia Luo was joking. As for the current big shots, no one can compare with your current popularity. Katakuri said very calmly. Since the tea party is about to begin, I won't disturb Katakuri as you entertain the others. I'll just find a place to sit down. Xiao Yin, you go out for a walk first. If anything happens later, I will call you. Xia Luo first said to Katakuri politely. Then he patted Xiaoyan and signaled the latter to leave here first. After all, its appearance was too eye-catching. The small silver gunwing, which received Xia Luo's order, sprayed out a large amount of red dragon energy, and instantly turned into a red meteor and soared into the sky. He disappeared from the venue in just 3 seconds. So fast. Katakuri and everyone present widened their eyes, feeling secretly in their hearts. Sighed. From taking off to disappearing, the acceleration time of Tian Weilong's flight only takes less than 3 seconds, and this speed. It's no longer a speed they can keep up with using shaving. Although they can also burst out at this speed in an instant, it is only an instant. It is not at the same level as Tian Weilong's speed at this level. Everyone thought of a terrifying figure, Marine Admiral Kizaru. Perhaps only the Marine Admiral, who is famous for his terrifying power of the speed of light, can compare with him. Then please enjoy this tea party, Mr. Xia Luo. I will ask the sisters to entertain you later. Seeing that Xia Luo's eyes had drifted to the desserts at the banquet, Katakuri also understood what the other party meant and said straightforwardly. He turned around and left here randomly. After all, there were still a lot of people present. As the second in command of the Big Mom pirates, he had many things to deal with. Asking my sisters to entertain me? What's the point of fun? Do you want to engage in a honey trap? But... Xia Luo scratched her head in confusion, and then thought of her aunt's ugly daughters. 013903224 Filu 183,412,590. Either they are too fat or they are some weird race. Xia Luo does not have such hobbies. However, there are a few characters in Auntie's daughter that Xia Luo particularly likes. The first person to bear the brunt is of course the most famous long-legged member of the Big Mom Pirates, Charlotte Smoothie. There are also Charlotte Garrett, who is the Minister of Butter, and Charlotte Custard, a cute girl with big eyes, who is also good. Of course, Pudding is also indispensable, but now Pudding is only a 14-year-old child, not yet of marriageable age, so he is excluded from wearing it. Some of the others are twice as old as Xia Luo, but they cannot stand up to their good looks. Even if they are in their 30s or 40s, they still look like young women in their 20s. The 5 girls in the decuplets look pretty good. I wonder what it will be like to experience 5 girls with similar attributes at once. Xia Luo's eyes kept scanning the female characters of the Charlotte family. Of course, the gaze was still very secretive, at least it didn't alert other people. There are some people inside, including Grandmaster Observation Haki, who is quite sensitive to other people's gazes. And Xia Luo only glanced at it with admiration, so he didn't attract any attention. Haha, is Captain Xia Luo planning to marry that Charlotte family member? Maybe he can capture the red historical text of Charlotte Linlin without any bloodshed. Seeing Xia Luo eating dessert and constantly glancing at the fairer-looking women of the Charlotte family present, Reiju teased in a playful tone. Don't be ridiculous, Reiju, you know me. I'm just doing reconnaissance. It's rare that I can observe the strength of the Big Mom Pirates. Why don't I pay more attention? Furthermore, my purpose is exactly the opposite of confronting Auntie. There will definitely be a fight in the end, and there is no such thing as marriage. Xia Luo changed her previous attitude and said to Reiju with a serious expression. If you put this serious appearance in the eyes of other people who are not familiar with Xia Luo, they might really be deceived by him. After all, he has acting skills that are beyond Kizaru's reach, and even women like Robin are amazed. As for marriage, he had never thought about it. As the future king of the world, of course he wants to grab it. If you fancy any Charlotte family woman, you can just grab it after you defeat the aunt. Moreover, these Charlotte's children are not completely monolithic. Many of them are not loyal to Aunt Qian. It's just a compromise under the terrifying strength of the other party. What really binds them is the love between brothers and sisters. Especially Katakuri, who is the second in command of the pirate group, his cohesion in the Charlotte pirate group even exceeds that of Big Mom. His younger brothers and sisters grew up idolizing Katakuri. Since it's an investigation, why not take a look at the men over there? That's the real main force. Reiju narrowed his eyes with a smile and pointed to the famous generals and main members of the Charlotte family on the other side. Ah, those guys, except for Katakuri, there is no one who can fight. Just be rest assured. If you really fight, you can finish them all off when silver grows to adulthood. Xia Luo looked at Kaido casually, not even turning his eyes to Kakuzu, and didn't care at all about these so-called generals. Are you kidding me? Although most of the women in Charlotte Linlin are ugly, there are still some eye-catching features in them. Don't put yourself through the trouble of seeing those men. And he said that Xiao Yin can solve these so-called generals by himself when he becomes an adult. Hoshia is not a guy. As an ancient dragon, although Tian Weilong does not reach the level of taboo or unbanned, it does not have the ability to change the weather like Yan Gangxiao of the first-generation Yusan family. However, it can be evaluated as proof of an absolutely irresistible fate, and omen that plunges the earth into despair, and its existence is the embodiment of disaster. All signs indicate that Tian Weilong's strength as an adult will not be inferior to those ancient dragon creatures that can change the weather, or even be better than them. After all, the powerful move of Lovely Star Flying Crash is caused by dozens of tons of monsters flying and bombing at supersonic speeds. Xia Luo initially estimated that Kaido might not be able to block the adult Tian Weilong if he used this move. Tian Weilong's scales and carapace can also withstand the friction and high temperature of such ultra-high-speed flight, and flames of hundreds of degrees are just an itch in its eyes. The temperature of Akainu magma is probably only enough to give it a bath. Some of Tianwei Dragon's scales have been burned by its own dragon energy all year round and detached during flight, often causing large-scale explosions like falling meteorites. The scales in the crater are usually intact, which shows how strong the defense of the little silver carapace is. Xia Luo's evaluation of Xiao Yin is that he will be the second most powerful pirate group in the future. With Xiao Yin's wisdom, after Xia Luo teaches him how to use armament Haki, his strength will not be lower than his own. Haha, so compared to the solid guys like the Charlotte family, are you more afraid of those women? Reiju smiled in a playful tone. Seeing Xia Luo give Xiaoyan such a high evaluation, Reiju was not surprised. After all, Xiaoyan's speed was too fast. When practicing in the training room, Reiju's speed couldn't catch up with the opponent at all. Tsunami could catch up, but Nami's thunder and lightning didn't have a particularly big effect. The properties of the little silver carapace, such as resistance to high temperatures, cold air, and thunder, are so high that it has almost full magic resistance points. It is difficult for ordinary Logia to break through its defense. Aren't you afraid that I will be seduced by these women? What should I do if I am really fascinated by these women and never go back? Xia Luo pinched Reiju's chin and slowly approached, raised the corners of her mouth, and smiled. Not afraid. Huh? Do you know so well that your damn charm can charm me and prevent me from being obsessed with these women from the Charlotte family? Xia Luo took a gentle sniff of the fragrance on Reiju's hair. This woman exudes the charm that makes Xia Luo's hormones surge all the time. Xia Luo defines this as the charm of a mature woman, of course. Not a mature woman like an ant. Haha, because I know that just by relying on these women from the Yuanlot family. Smoothie narrowed his eyes and smiled. So, Captain Xia Luo is looking for that beautiful woman now. Will he snatch them away after the war with Charlotte Linlin? Xia Luo shrugged, but his true intention had already been exposed. Clatter. She didn't come to talk to him on a whim, but Katakuri had previously ordered him to entertain Xia Luo well. The visitor is none other than Charlotte Smoothie, one of the 4 dessert generals. White hair, slightly dark skin, these attributes. There was a sound of footsteps, which also attracted the 2 people who had just finished flirting. Xia Luo turned around and saw a pair of long, slender white legs, with a rose tattoo on the hip of her right leg. Wearing a white round hood and a yellow scarf, she has long silver white wavy hair with bangs covering her right eye. As a Chongguo native, Smoothie used the special attack attribute on Xia Luo, but unfortunately she still lacked a red pupil, otherwise it would have been a special attack critical hit. Looking up, there are a pair of white rabbits that even Reiju would put to shame. Set against the pink patterned bodysuit that looks like dead water, the pair of white rabbits are particularly huge in shape. Well, I didn't say much, tear. Haha, what a greedy man. Reiju smiled softly. Your Excellency Xia Luo, I wonder what you were talking about. You are chatting so happily. Smoothie also wants to share the happiness with you? Clatter. Clatter. It's Reiju, he knows me very well. Xia Luo released Reiju's chin and nodded with satisfaction. Chapter 104 True Sister Juice. Well, after all, there are sweet and delicious cakes here. No matter who eats them, they will be happy. Your Cake Island chef skills are very good. Of course Xia Luo would not tell what happened just now. Otherwise, can we tell Smooth Guitar that he is planning to go to war with Big Mom in the future, and even want to snatch you all away after defeating Big Mom? You can eat more if you like. The chefs here are all the top dessert chefs in the world. No matter what type of dessert you want to eat, you can ask your servants to find the chef to make it. Smoothie said with a somewhat proud expression. The chefs at Wanguo are all professional pastry chefs who have been carefully selected to satisfy Charlotte Linlin's tricky taste. Dessert masters from different regions around the world are gathered here. The air is filled with sweet and delicious smell. Even if you are not a sweet tooth, you will not find this smell annoying. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot about the real thing. Just eating snacks is not enough, right? Sir Xia Luo, would you like to drink some juice? Whether it's animals, sea beasts, handsome guys, or beautiful girls. I can help you make any juice. While talking, Smoothie seemed to think of her job, distributing special juice to the distinguished guests. Xia Luo happened to be the last person she was responsible for. Smoothie first took out a goblet, and then pulled out a young and beautiful girl from behind. This is one of my favorite flavors. I brought her out specially for your Excellency Xia Luo. But the juice from animals sounds pretty good. I wonder if there are any cat-shaped fur people here, otherwise you can try the cat juice from Furui Catgirl. The name of the squeezed fruit is quite good, but it is a pity to only use it to squeeze juice. Smoothie serves as the Minister of Juice in Wanguo. In the original work, she is responsible for distributing juice to guests. However, she is the only one in the world who is followed by several girls to squeeze juice. Thinking about it, Xia Luo couldn't help but shook his head. What's wrong? Your Excellency Xia Luo, don't you like the juice of beautiful girls? Do you need me to send someone to find a Jin brother that suits your taste? Seeing Xia Luo shaking her head, Smoothie thought Xia Luo was not good at this. According to the information, Xia Luo should like beautiful women, but why is her taste exactly the opposite? No, forget about men. Xia Luo quickly waved her hand. Are you kidding? Who wants to drink the juice of other stinky men? Compared to those girls, I want to taste Miss Smoothie's taste. Era, do you want to taste me? Yes. Hearing this, Smoothie looked a little surprised at first, and then stretched out to reveal a heartfelt smile. Please wait a moment, Mr. Xia Luo. After saying that, Smoothie moved her long legs and left the venue. Xia Luo was full of questions. Didn't she say she wanted to squeeze juice for me? Why did she leave first? Well, never mind, as long as you have something to eat. He likes this kind of free banquet the most, so that he can relax his appetite and eat to store more energy. After a long time, it's really delicious coconut juice. You are worthy of being the minister of juice of all nations. Xia Luo smelled it first, and then took a sip. Xia Luo's eyes instantly lit up and she was full of praise. As for the possibility of poisoning this glass of juice, Xia Luo didn't care at all. His body has reached a certain strength and is completely unafraid of the threat of toxins. Even the strong poison will not kill him, it will just make him feel a little uncomfortable. Your Excellency Xia Luo is so impressed. This is my first time juicing, so I don't know how it tastes. It's great that Your Excellency Xia Luo is satisfied. Hearing Xia Luo's praise, Smooth smiled happily and Kaido. Will the juice taste different? Xia Luo looked stunned, glanced at the coconut juice in her hand, then looked at Smoothie and asked. Smoothie nodded. Gulu, this glass of juice. Combined with the other party's sudden departure, the more Xia Luo thought about it, the more it seemed possible. Xia Luo looked eager, he would definitely get this woman. This aggressive look was also noticed by Smoothie, but she didn't feel any disgust. On the contrary, it made Smoothie even happier. Since Your Excellency Xia Luo is satisfied, I'm relieved. Then, Your Excellency Xia Luo, please enjoy this tea party to the fullest. Mom also told me some things to do, so I will go back and make preparations first. Smoothie said with a smile. Well, I am. Thank you very much for Miss Smoothie's hospitality. Xia Luo took her sister's juice and saluted her, and then took another sip. Haha, if Sir Xia Luo still wants to drink, Smoothie can refill your cup unlimitedly from now on. Before leaving, Smooth gave Xia Luo a wink. Xia Luo was immediately shocked by the other party's contrasting behavior. After all, Smoothie doesn't really look like the type to ogle. Haha, Captain Xia Luo is so charming, it seems that Miss Smoothie has a good impression of you. Reiju, who had been standing sideways, said with a smile. It doesn't matter who your captain is, isn't it natural? Xia Luo pretended to be cool and lifted her bangs and struck a handsome pose. If Ku Shi gives him some sunshine, he will be able to climb up. Haha, but this Miss Smoothie is not easy to deal with. Auntie asked her to deliver it to your door. Is there anything else that can be done? I thought Captain Xia Luo didn't notice it. I was almost worried that Captain Xia Luo was addicted to the other party's gentleness. Reiju came into Xia Luo's arms and kept drawing circles on his chest with her fingers. The tone seemed a bit resentful, but the corners of his mouth could not be raised. I specially sent my most promising daughter to receive me, and she also showed her kindness like this. Even a blind man can guess what the aunt wants to do. I just didn't expect that she would be willing to spend a lot of money and use Xingdu as a marriage tool. But didn't she think that I would refuse? Xia Luo chuckled lightly, holding Reiju in one hand and sipping Smoothie's coconut milk in the other. Everyone else went to the area that Smoothie was responsible for to get juice, but Smoothie suddenly came to Xia Luo alone. And he took out the best items in the collection for Xia Luo to taste, and when Xia Luo expressed that she wanted to taste her taste. As a fourth general, she is one of the faces of the Big Mom pirates. He actually agreed to Xia Luo's request without hesitation, and personally squeezed juice that no one else had ever drunk before. His wooing could no longer be concealed. Then will you reject her? Reiju looked up and asked. Isn't that natural? For a woman to want to bribe me, she looks down on me too much. Xia Luo's expression suddenly became serious, and he looked upright. Haha, I think her fruit is very suitable for you. Maybe she will really squeeze you dry. Reiju covered her mouth and chuckled. Have you forgotten that I have armament Haki? You can't beat me with just the fruit ability. It also depends on her physical condition, probably. Xia Luo looked confident at first, but her tone suddenly weakened. His armament Haki can indeed resist the fruit power, but if Smoothie's fruit power is not acting on him, but on herself. Woolen cloth? My own armament Haki probably can't resist that kind of power, right? The squeezed fruit combined with the attributes of a girl from the long-legged tribe, Tisk, is so terrifying. It seems that the most difficult person for the Charlotte family to deal with is Smoothie. Boom boom boom. Just when Xia Luo was still thinking about how to capture Smoothie, a huge explosion sounded. At the same time, what sounded like a woman's roar came out. This huge roar even shook the desserts and water glasses on the table. The pirates and guests present all had confused expressions. This is the territory of the Charlotte family, who would come to cause trouble at this time. All these people looked curious and dared to act wild at Auntie's tea party. It is rare to see such fools anymore. They all looked in the direction of the sound. Only the 6 kings of the dark world turned gloomy. They had heard this voice before. And some people still have a certain shadow. It's not good, this should be that one. Well, that's it, the situation doesn't look good, why don't you avoid it first? Katakuri should be able to handle it well. If he leaves now, Lin Lin will be angry afterwards. The 6 kings all transformed into the Riddler. You said this and that to me, as if there were some taboos that must not be said. Xia Luo was also brought back to her senses by the roar, and looked over there with a baffled expression. What's wrong with this crazy woman, Auntie? She's not suffering from Soraya, is she? Xia Luo frowned and murmured to herself. He was just thinking about which move of Aben's 18 moves to defeat Smoothie, when he was suddenly woken up by his aunt's voice. As the sound of destruction grew louder, everyone present saw clearly who had just roared. Wedding cake. I want to eat wedding cake. In the destroyed wall, the ant walked out from inside, too. His eyes have turned into circles like mosquito coils. Although he can still speak, he seems to have lost his mind. Drool was still oozing from the corners of his mouth, as if he had been starved for several days. Like a tiger. Where is the wedding cake? I want to eat the wedding cake, Auntie roared and started destroying the surrounding buildings. Everyone present was frightened and turned pale. What's going on with big hyphenation point mom? He's not going to eat us, is he? The timid one's thighs began to tremble, and his figure kept retreating. Everyone can see that the ant has lost her mind now, and she might be killed if she approaches her rashly. Is the wedding cake here? What? A wedding cake? Master Linlin, please let me go. I really don't have any wedding cake. The unlucky guy who was caught was so frightened that he peed his pants, with mucus and tears pouring out. Charlotte Linlin glanced at the tea party venue, roared and jumped down. Yes. Seeing that he was saved, the unfortunate guy ran away without looking back. Trouble. Why does mom suddenly want to eat a wedding cake? I didn't prepare the materials at all before, and it will probably take some time to start making it now. Tell me, where did you hide my wedding cake? The ant casually caught a guy who had no time to escape, and slapped him with a big face. Here, I'm really suffering from pyrexia, now it's interesting. Xia Luo grinned, feeling very interesting watching this scene. The ant's big face was really too scary, and it was even thrust in front of her. If she moved closer, she would probably be able to swallow herself. It seems we can only block it for a while. I hope the baguette can bring the food out soon. The situation is not right, retreat quickly. How? After someone shouted, everyone present began to run for their lives. Katakuri is also a little confused now, but if the guests at the tea party. Bang. When people are hurt, there will be some trouble later. Helpless, now I can only take action to stop my mother from continuing to destroy the big house. Suddenly, a ball of white rice cake suddenly appeared and hit the ant on the wrist. As soon as the ant let go of her hand, the unfortunate guy fell directly to the ground. Katakuri's figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Leave quickly. After saying something coldly, Katakuri looked at Charlotte Linlin in front of him with a solemn expression. Chapter 105 The Civil War in the Charlotte Family. Brother Katakuri. The guests have been evacuated, but it will take another hour to make the baguette. Charlotte Moscato, who was tall and carried a sword that looked like an ice cream cone, shouted loudly. He is the 16th son of the Charlotte family and the Minister of Ice Cream in the Kingdom of Toto Land. In the original work, he was also deprived of 40 years of life and almost died because he stepped in to stop the narcotic rampage of his aunt. I see. You guys should also stay away a little bit. Mom won't recognize you now. If you're not careful, your life will be taken away by mom. Katakuri nodded first, and then seriously urged several people to leave quickly. Although Auntie can now hear other people talking, she only retains the desire to eat. When she suffers from psoriasis, even her relatives will not give her face, and everyone who stands in her way will become her enemy. I understand, Brother Katakuri, you should be more careful. After hearing this, Moscato also understood that he would only be a hindrance here, and Katakuri could not take care of them and fight with his mother at the same time. But before he left, he still looked at Katakuri with worried eyes. Where are Cracker and Smoothie? We can't let Katakuri face his mother alone. We must find support. After leaving the battlefield, Moscato ran on the street, constantly scanning back and forth to look for other generals. However, Smooth disappeared after just coming into contact with Xia Luo, as if he was going to prepare something. Before the surprise she had prepared could come, Auntie's syphoria broke out first. After searching to no avail, Moscato could only rush to the kitchen and help the chefs make the wedding cake. But the kitchen has already been in a state of war, and all the chefs are busy non-stop. Return to the battlefield. Bring me the wedding cake quickly. The ant looked at Katakuri who was confronting her with red eyes, and then yelled loudly. Calm down, Mom. The chef is already making the wedding cake now. It will be finished in a while. Facing Big Mom's roar, Katakuri said calmly. Who are you? I want to eat the wedding cake now. Get it for me now? Come over. Or are you here to stop me from eating the wedding cake too? Katakuri's persuasion did not have any effect, but instead aroused the ant's hostility. Now she can hear Katakuri talking, but she won't think too much, but willfully asks others to prepare everything she wants. Otherwise, everything will be destroyed by her, and she will remain in this state until she gets the food she wants. After saying that, Auntie raised her fist and threw it at Katakuri, but the latter skillfully dodged and jumped away. Boom! Auntie's fist hit the ground, causing a big pit in the ground instantly. It doesn't work. It seems that the battle is inevitable. We can only stop Mom from destroying the entire city. Katakuri glanced at the large crater on the ground and analyzed it calmly. He had encountered this kind of thing several times, but every time he tried to awaken Charlotte Linlin's consciousness, but failed. Wedding cake. Wedding cake. Where the hell is the wedding cake? After a failed attack, the ant stood there muttering to herself, and then let out a deafening roar. At the same time, the Conqueror's Haki on her body emanated from her body in all directions. The powerful Conqueror's Haki directly impacted the citizens who failed to leave the town and homies. The citizens and pirates fainted immediately, and Homies' soul dissipated due to fear and turned into a lifeless substance. How could this happen? Mom usually doesn't use moves like Conqueror's Haki when she's suffering from narcosis. Katakori's eyes widened for a moment, and he watched in shock as Big Mom released Conqueror's Haki. We can't let Mom continue like this, otherwise Homies will be annihilated. There was cold sweat on Katakori's forehead, and he felt helpless as he watched some immovable trees lose their souls due to Haki's shock. So he chose to release Conqueror's Haki as well. It's just a far cry from Big Mom's Conquerors, but this also caught Big Mom's attention, and the impact of Conquerors returned and was launched in Katakori's direction with all its strength. Boom! Two huge auras collided, the black and blue aura that symbolized Katakori, and the black and pink aura that symbolized Charlotte Linlin. Black and red lightning burst out at the point where their momentum collided. Then the two Conquerors' Haki dissipated at the same time, and at the same time dispersed the clouds in the sky, and the sea continued to churn. Lily, it's really interesting, said. Not only did he attack his own son, but he also used Conqueror's Haki. Will he give Katakori a chance to become a powerful country later? Xia Luo, who was watching the battle on the edge of the battlefield, watched the two Conquerors' Haki collide with great interest, and then drank the coconut milk in his hands in one gulp. Katakori, do you need help? As long as you ask, I can help you stop Big Mom for a while. Throwing the goblet in his hand to the ground, Xia Luo ducked to a house not far from Katakori and asked in a playful tone. After eating and drinking, of course I want to relax. It just so happened that Auntie was going berserk right now, and Xia Luo was also a little itchy. He doesn't mind testing the waters with Big Mom before the real war begins. Katakori's eyes turned to the side. Xia Luo was sitting on the edge of the roof with her hands folded and her feet raised, looking very interested in the aunt's appearance. No need, Your Excellency Xia Luo is a distinguished guest, how can I ask you to take action? Besides, if you and Mom get into a fight, I'm afraid that the whole Cake Island. They will all be destroyed by you. Let us, as the children of the Charlotte family, handle this. Please step aside, Sir Xia Luo. Katakori said in a deep voice. At the same time, I feel a little bit tricky about the current situation. My mother is in the stage of narcosis. If Xia Luo has any bad intentions, there is no force to stop him now. This exposed all the truly empty moments of the family to Xia Luo. That's it, then I won't interfere in your family's affairs. If you can't handle it, you can come to me for help. Of course, it's free. You won't be charged anything. Xia Luo shrugged and then said with a smile on his face. Thank you very much for your kindness, Mr. Xia Luo. If you really encounter trouble, I will seriously consider it. Katakori nodded, but he was facing the direction of Big Mom. He didn't dare to be careless. After all, the person in front of him was Charlotte Linlin, the leader of the Charlotte Pirates. Hearing this, Xia Luo also dodged and left the battlefield, returning to the edge of the battlefield. What? Your hands are itchy and you want to have a fight with 4 emperors? Reiju asked curiously as he saw Xia Luo shuttle back and forth between the battlefields. A bit. I wonder if my current strength can defeat the overlord of this sea? That old guy Kizaru is like an old loach. It's hard to predict my true level by fighting him. In the previous battles between Xia Luo and Kizaru, most of the battles involved Kizaru dodging and then using sword skills to slash Xia Luo when it was inevitable. This made Xia Luo feel a little uncomfortable when fighting, and she felt like she couldn't perform well. Big Mom and the other 4 emperors are different from Kizaru. They're all good at close combat, knife-to-flesh combat. It would probably be more interesting to fight them. Who will be stronger, my own body or their strength? I'm really looking forward to it, Xia Luo smiled. In the battlefield, Big Mom kept attacking Katakori with her fists. The latter can only dodge away, or block it with rice cakes, and try to guide the ant to leave in the direction of the town. If the battle between the two took place in a town, they would definitely be completely destroyed. Damn it, haven't they found Smoothie and Cracker yet? If this continues. Brother Katakori can't hold on for long. On the other side of the battlefield, several children of the Charlotte family were nervously watching the battle between the two. Among them, there is Garrett, whom Xia Luo is very optimistic about. Smoothie seems to have found him. He is rushing here at full speed. Just hold on for a while. Great, as long as the strongest Katakori brother and Smoothie are there, they can definitely stop the rampage. Upon hearing this, all the children of the Charlotte family showed happy expressions. Even before they started pumping, they were already breastfeeding like crazy. However, they didn't know what the flag was, so they just comforted themselves in their hearts. I believe that by joining forces with the 2 most powerful people in the universe, I can stop my mother from going berserk. Get out of my way. Don't get in my way, Napoleon. Charlotte Linlin, who had been blocked, spoke angrily and took off the hat on her head. Yes, Mom. Napoleon responded to him and instantly turned into a long sword. Mom, who is the enemy? Napoleon, who had just woken up, looked around. But no matter how he looked at it, there was only Katakori in front of him, and he also knew that Katakori was his mother's son. Enemy? Isn't the enemy right in front of you? Go to hell? Auntie rushed forward with Napoleon, and slashed Katakori's head with one sword. No, the speed is too fast, there is no way to avoid it. Katakori's pupils shrank and his head was thinking rapidly. Wall of rice cakes. His hands immediately turned into rice cakes, and then a thick wall of rice cakes suddenly appeared in front of him, and it was also covered with rich armament haki. Sweat dripped from Katakori's forehead. He didn't know whether the rice cake wall he had hastily built could stop his mother's slashing attack. Clang. Just when Napoleon was about to hit the rice cake wall, a long sword blocked Napoleon's attack. Boom. The man holding a long sword who collided with Napoleon was instantly repulsed. Cha-cha-cha. The sound of shoes constantly rubbing against the ground made a groove on the ground. Xia Luo's eyes instantly brightened when she saw this man, and Katakori also breathed a sigh of relief. The person who came was none other than Smoothie, but the Smoothie now was not the same as before. She took off her previous jumpsuit and scarf, put on a pink skirt, and replaced her pair of weird shoes with ordinary boots. He took off the hat on his head, arranged his hair carefully, and decorated it with a small flower beside his ear. The pink short skirt sets off Smoothie's proud figure. It's no wonder that Xia Luo's eyes lit up. Because the contrast between this look and Smoothie's previous appearance is too strong. It's like a warrior who has experienced many battles has turned into a virtuous woman at home, giving people a refreshing beauty. Brother Katakori, are you okay? Smoothie was breathing heavily. She had just rushed to the venue at full speed, and she felt something bad the moment she saw her mother take out Napoleon. Without thinking, she rushed forward to block Andy's blow, but the difference in strength was too great and she was repulsed. Then Katakori quickly came to her side. It's okay. You came just in time, Smoothie. Let's work together with me to guide Mom to the forest outside. We must not let Mom continue to destroy the city. But won't it affect your current outfit when you fight? Katakori nodded at her, told her his plan, and then asked hesitantly. No problem, I just changed my clothes, so it won't be a big problem when fighting. Now, except for the long sword on her back, there's nothing on her body that she usually wears. Not only did she wear light makeup on her face, but she also wore earrings. Well, we can only stop Mom from going berserk first. Let's discuss the matter another day after Mom wakes up. Well, there's nothing we can do about it, Smoothie said calmly. Seeing this, Katakori felt a little guilty. I feel sorry for you, Smoothie. It's rare for you to dress up so beautifully, but now you have to look disgraced. It doesn't matter, just wait until another day for Sister Custard and the others to dress me up again. Smoothie smiled casually, not caring at all, and then his face suddenly became serious again. Be careful, Mom is going to attack again. Smoothie felt a huge pull, and then his body was pulled into a strong chest. But no matter how hard he moved, he couldn't save Smoothie before the arrival of the powerful country. What an annoying guy. You keep running around. You guys who are blocking me from eating the wedding cake, go to hell. Guo, who could only watch the ant, rushed towards this side. Boo-hoo-hoo. Katako-jun on one side also had his eyes wide open, and he couldn't support him at this distance. The figures of the two people kept jumping back and forth, and the battlefield moved step by step towards the forest outside the venue. The thought came to her mind. Suddenly, a strong hand came from her waist. The huge sword energy struck in Smoothie's direction at a fast speed. Smooth himself was too frightened to move. He stood there blankly, looking at the scene with his mouth wide open in horror. The long chase made Auntie feel very irritable. Just now, Smoothie and Katakori jumped in two different directions to dodge Big Mom's attack. But this is his sister. How could he let his sister die in front of his eyes? She was seen wielding Napoleon. The powerful Haki gathered on it, and the sword was accompanied by traces of black lightning. Am I going to die? Elbaf's spear powerful country? As soon as she landed, Auntie's sword energy came towards her. She didn't react at all, and she didn't have time to dodge again. As soon as he finished speaking, Auntie's slash struck again, and the two of them jumped away at the same time, leaving only the earth shattered by Auntie's slash. Chapter 106 Shy Smoothie looked up and saw that the person coming was beyond her expectation. It was Xia Luo who rescued her at the critical moment. I saw that Xia Luo's height has now skyrocketed to 5 meters, and Smoothie, who was originally 4.6 meters tall, is now only as tall as his chest. Xia Luo's mouth widened, revealing a disdainful smile. Facing Big Mom's roaring power, he raised Haki with his right hand, which was covered with military colors and conquerors. Then, just like Whitebeard used Shock Fruit's ability, Xia Luo also knocked hard on Wei Guo's sword energy. Click click click. Black lightning spread wantonly, but this situation did not last long. With a little effort from Xia Luo, Wei Guo had already deviated from its original route and flown into the air. In an instant, the clouds in the sky were broken by the mighty country, and the hundreds of miles around the country turned into a scene of clear sky. Xia Luo is familiar with Wei Guo's trick, after he obtained the steel balloon system when he first went to sea 2 years ago. He was hit by Nagli's Conquerors with a hammer when he was with Nagli, and he learned Conqueror's Haki through that insight. From then on, Xia Luo also began to learn the skills of Batang, and then inadvertently used the same moves as Charlotte Linlin, Wei Guo. Out of confidence and too much understanding, Xia Luo deflected Andy's power with just one hand. Bang! However, just after Wei Guo was knocked away, there was a scene of Ant holding Napoleon and chopping down at Xia Luo. Clang! Similarly, Xia Luo just grabbed Napoleon's sword blade with her right hand covering Haki just like before. But both Xia Luo's hands and Auntie's Napoleon were trembling. This was a competition of strength. However, after all, Xia Luo only had one hand, which was not as powerful as Auntie's two hands. Who are you? Are you here to stop me from eating the wedding cake? Auntie's eyes were almost filled with question marks. He was about to kill a guy who stopped him from eating the wedding cake, and now another guy stood in front of him without hesitation. Can you calm down a little? She is your daughter. Do you want to kill your daughter? Xia Luo sighed helplessly. Whoever stops me from eating the wedding cake will die. Regarding Xia Luo's persuasion, the aunt roared as if she had lost her mind, although she was indeed irrational now. In this regard, Xia Luo felt really helpless. With his sister in his arms, he couldn't free his hands to fight with his full strength. He kept holding the sword hard, and he felt a little sore. Auntie's strength is not fake. Xia Luo is probably as strong as he is now. However, although Auntie is very strong and powerful, her fighting skills are just that, and she is full of flaws. Xia Luo covered the powerful Haki with her right foot, and then kicked Big Mom in the stomach. Boom! Auntie was instantly kicked into the forest like a depth bomb, and a big crater was created. Xia Luo glanced over there, smoke filled the pit where she fell, and then turned to look at Smoothie in her arms. Are you okay? Are you injured? Xia Luo asked softly, her eyes full of concern. Oh, I'm fine. Thank you very much, Mr. Xia Luo, for your support. If it weren't for you, I would have died in my mother's hands. Smoothie, who had been in a daze just now, woke up to Xia Luo's soft words. Her face was a little blushing now, and the way she raised her head and stared at Xia Luo's face before was probably noticed by him. It's really a bit embarrassing, to be able to see how lost one's mind is, and to embarrass one's generals if they tell anyone about it. As long as it's okay. As a gentleman, I don't want to see a beautiful woman like Miss Smoothie get hurt. Be careful in future battles. If you don't have me by your side next time, no one will be able to save you in time. Xia Luo said with a gentle smile. How could he let it go when it was so easy to increase his favorability? The routine of a hero saving a beauty can gain favor from the opponent no matter where it is placed. Unless one is extremely ugly, how could such a heroic behavior in front of a beautiful woman not gain favor? However, the men and girls in the pirate world are a little strange. They don't particularly pay attention to appearance. Even if the other person is extremely ugly, in the eyes of some people. Just like a saint. Just like an ant never looks at people based on their appearance. No matter how ugly they are, they will marry each other as long as they have a special race. The same goes for her daughter Charlotte Lola. She is not very good looking, but she is attracted by Loki, the prince of the giant tribe. Smoothie. Daughter, you okay? Thank you very much, Mr. Xia Luo, for your help. I am deeply grateful. Katakuri arrived late, first looked at Smoothie with worried eyes, and then respectfully thanked Xia Luo. I'm fine, brother Katakuri. Smoothie nodded at him. Xia Luo just waved his hand, indicating that it was just a trivial matter. Am I? Katakuri also said with a strange expression, but then stopped abruptly. After watching the crisis pass, Smoothie was still nestled in Xia Luo's arms, and his expression was still a little red. Smoothie also pushed Xia Luo away suddenly, and then arranged her clothes in a panic, the blush on her cheeks getting even worse. It's over, Katakuri brother saw me so embarrassed. One side. How can I hold my head high in the family in the future? Smoothie thought to himself very shyly. But even Katakuri had never seen her panic, and I have to say that she still looks a little cute now. Even Katakuri was a little dumbfounded. Your Excellency Xia Luo, Smoothie will be entrusted to you from now on. Katakuri looked solemn, put his hand on Xia Luo's shoulder very seriously, and said. Xia Luo's face was full of black question marks. Did this uncle sell his sister to me so quickly? But no matter how easy it is for the uncle to handle this matter, as long as it doesn't cause too much embarrassment in the future, it should be very harmonious. Xia Luo also has his own plans for the Charlotte family. First, he defeated Big Mom Charlotte Linlin, and then recruited the entire Charlotte family, making Conqueror his thug. Completely build the kingdom of Toto Land into the utopia Xia Luo wants. Because the entire Charlotte family is not of the same mind, many people are not bound by the aunt's family affection, but because of her terrifying power. Therefore, Xia Luo's plan still has certain feasibility. Therefore, it is also very necessary to gain Conqueror's favorability. After all, the person in the entire Charlotte family who convinces their children the most is Conqueror. Katakuri ni. What are you talking about? Hurry up and stop Mom from continuing her destructive behavior. Now is not the time to chat. Smoothie's expression suddenly became angry, and his momentum became stronger, urging Katnon to leave quickly. At this point, even Card 2 was a little confused. Could it be that his assist was sent at the wrong time? But if Xia Luo knew about it, she would definitely say no to him, and then give him a thumbs up with a serious look. And Smoothie wasn't really angry, it was more like using an angry expression to cover up his shy side. Of course, Xia Luo also saw through her disguise. Are you kidding me? Is the title of Best Actor Xia Luo fake? Your Excellency Xia Luo, although I don't want to admit it, You have also seen that with my current strength, I cannot completely stop my mother's rampage. Can you please help me, Mr. Xia Luo, and work with me to stop my mother from going berserk? Facing Smoothie's furious look, Katakuri was helpless, and then asked in an apologetic tone. Well, since it's Katakuri and you're making such a solemn request, then I can't. I won't agree. Xia Luo is Kaido with a smile and an easygoing tone. Thank you very much. Katakuri thanked him respectfully again. Then he left the place in a flash and rushed towards the forest. Ms. Smoothie, just wait here for a moment, and let me handle the situation at Big Mom. Xia Luo said softly to Smoothie, then please leave it to your excellency Xia Luo. After hearing this, Smoothie also had a serious expression, and then bowed solemnly to Xia Luo. This is a thank you to Xia Luo for helping, but in Xia Luo's eyes, it was terrible. The low-cut V-shaped long skirt couldn't cover up her pair of big white rabbits. Especially the huge rabbit revealed when bowing to thank Xia Luo was a feast for the eyes. Very good, he knows the rules very well. If he doesn't show his apology, Xia Luo won't like it. No, it's a trivial matter, it's on my side, thank you Kong Ji. Xia Luo's expression also became serious, and he said with a serious face, call out. The next second, he also ducked away from the place and kept moving towards the direction of the forest. He also sensed that Big Mom was starting to destroy things again, and Conqueror was already trying to stop her from destroying her. Looking at Xia Luo's leaving figure, Smoothie put his hand on his heart. In the pirate world, most people respect those who are stronger than themselves and their saviors. And I witnessed with my own eyes Wei Guo, who knocked Xia Luo away with one punch, caught her Aunt Napoleon with one hand and kicked her away, and rescued her from her mother's hands without any injury. Of course, Smoothie respects Xia Luo very much, and there are also some emotions in it that she doesn't understand. Please give me flowers. Feeling his racing heart, Smooth couldn't help but look in the direction of Xia Luo with a strange expression. This throbbing. Do I fall in love with this man? Is this feeling love? Smooth pursed his lips, unable to face the feelings in his heart for a while. Originally, she just followed Charlotte Linlin's order, contacted Xia Luo at the tea party, and made the other party have a good impression. Later, Mother will announce at the tea party that Smoothie will marry Xia Luo. If Xia Luo has a crush on Smoothie, she will definitely not refuse, and everything will fall into place. It works. She doesn't understand the inexplicable emotion of love. She has been living in the Charlotte family, and even her mother's family affection is very twisted. In the whole family, Katakuri is the only one who really cares about his brothers and sisters, and only Katakuri can feel the existence of family affection. And now, she felt the emotion of love from Xia Luo. Before, it was more because she couldn't disobey her mother's instructions, but now she wanted to feel Xia Luo's care for her. This feeling is not bad, Smoothie murmured to himself. Maybe, in this crazy sea, having a partner is also a very good choice. Then she closed her eyes and recalled the warmth in Xia Luo's arms just now, feeling relieved in her heart. Think. For the first time she felt the joy of finding treasure. Because she found a treasure that truly belonged to her in this sea, a special treasure that belonged to her alone. Point 0. Wedding cake. Wedding cake. Don't come in my way. You guy. Charlotte Linlin punched Katakuri away, then roared loudly. Mom, calm down and stop doing this. Help. Napoleon, Zeus, and Prometheus were constantly trying to dissuade Big Mom, while the homies in the forest were constantly begging for mercy and calling for help. Bring me the wedding cake. Facing Zeus and Prometheus who were trying to dissuade her, Big Mom grabbed them both and threw them in the direction of Katakuri. Bang. Just enough is enough, old lady. Xia Luo suddenly appeared behind the ant and kicked her in the back of the head. Auntie turned her face to the ground and made a big hole in the ground. It hurts so much, I really want to eat the wedding cake. The ant stood up and covered her head, but it still didn't stop her symptoms of thyrexia, and she kept shouting that she wanted to eat the wedding cake. It's no use. This old woman's syphoria is so picky that she can't even get better after eating all the buildings. Seeing this, Xia Luo also said very speechlessly. Xia Luo also has the physique of a steel balloon and has a great demand for food, but he is not picky about food as long as it is delicious. Charlotte Linlin is more picky than him. Not only does she only eat sweets, but she also eats specific sweets when her schizophrenia breaks out. The body has become fatter than a dinosaur. Xia Luo wonders if Auntie will turn into a mountain of meat after eating like this. Later, he also heard Xia Luo call his mother an old woman without hesitation. After all, people here seem to think that old woman and old woman have the same meaning. Katakuri looked at Xia Luo's changes in surprise. But he couldn't say anything about this, he could only remind Xia Luo. After all, they are here to help. He is only 20 years old now, and the aunt is already 66 years old, so there seems to be nothing wrong with calling her an old woman. Okay, Xia Luo waved her hand. Katakuri glanced at the time, and then estimated that the battle with Big Mom would begin. Half an hour. Xia Luo lowered his head and pondered. It seems that there is not much time left to continue playing. It's almost ready. As long as you persist for half an hour, the chefs will deliver the cake. What a convenient ability. What kind of physique is this?
It can actually control the size of the body at will.
How long will it take for the wedding cake to be ready? Xia Luo asked.
Holding the dead tree Sakura 10 in the previous 5-meter state was like holding 2 daggers, which was very unrealistic.
Your Excellency Xia Luo, you should respect your mother a little bit, Katakuri said helplessly.
Now that I have recovered, I feel much better. Well, it's just some small tricks. Xia Luo drew out her swords and confronted the ant.
Although Auntie is not able to exert her full strength due to her mental disorder, she is still a good opponent.
Until now time. Xia Luo's body slowly shrank, from the previous 5 meters to 2 meters, and the specially made battle suit also continued to shrink due to his changes. Chapter 107 The second phase of the battle with Charlotte Linlin. Hey, the second phase has begun. Returning to his most comfortable state, Xia Luo held 2 swords and struck them down with 2 huge sword energy. It flew in the direction of Auntie in the shape of an X. / wave hyphenation point purgatory. Call out. Facing this devastating and powerful slash, Yinma showed no sign of retreating. The red light in her pupils seemed to be shattered, and then she let out an earth-shaking roar.
Country. The 2 slashes entangled with Conqueror's Haki collided, and the strong wind scattered them wildly.
Ooh, homies in the forest cried out in pain. Then it was uprooted and swept into the strong wind and blown directly to an unknown place. 2 rays of sword energy exploded, and at the same time the 2 of them left the place at the same time.
Clang clang clang. The figures of the 2 people kept flashing, leaving only the sonic boom produced when the 2 fought in the air.
Damn kid, don't stop me. While the 2 collided, the ant was still roaring angrily.
Sure enough. Your Excellency Xia Luo's power is on the same level as my mother's. Katakuri's eyes were solemn as he watched Xia Luo fight with her ant.
This time I really saw Xia Luo's power, it was exactly the same as the rumors. He was able to escape from Admiral not because he was lucky, but because his strength had reached the top level in the world.
Smoothie. Katakuri suddenly became worried again.
The stronger Xia Luo becomes, the more worried he becomes. Is it really possible that Mother's plan will succeed? After all, Xia Luo's strength is not inferior to her at all, and the possibility of Xia Luo surrendering to Auntie seems slim.
Because people with this kind of strength all have their own wild desires. Will that famous pirate surrender because of marriage? Even Marine, a person with this level of strength has his own right and wrong.
Righteous. No matter what, I have to discuss it again with my mother when I wake up.
Requiring Xia Luo to join in a tough way will only be counterproductive, but if Sister Smoothie is married, the Charlotte family will have a powerful ally. Katakuri thought about what he would say to persuade his mother later, and made up his mind to prevent his mother from becoming enemies with Xia Luo.
Reaching the pinnacle of combat power in this world at the age of 20 can be said to be unprecedented and unprecedented. Based on his knowledge, he has never seen such a genius in this sea. What Katakuri didn't know was that 2 years later, he would meet a guy who had mastered sit-ups. He quickly grew up through fighting countless people, and reached the level of 4 emperors. Prometheus, Zeus. As the battle between the 2 intensified, the momentum became even louder. Because she couldn't take down Xia Luo, the ant also got really angry, and then she yelled. Yes, Mom. After receiving the order, Prometheus and Zeus flew towards Big Mom.
Although the ant also holds a sword, she has no swordsmanship to speak of.
Just because the sword is a relatively convenient tool, even if she is given a mace, she can still perform moves like Wio. Her skill with the sword is her brute strength. Zeus turned into a thunder cloud and floated in the sky. Auntie jumped up as soon as she jumped. The clouds firmly supported Auntie's weight.
The flaming cloud transformed by Prometheus flew to the ant's head, and her originally innocent and cute face became like a ghost.
Coupled with the fierce look of the ant, it seems that the sense of oppression is still very strong. It's a pity that the person opposite is Xia Luo. If it were any other little pirate, he would probably be scared to death. Ha 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 ha, you annoying brat, go to hell. The ant opened her mouth wide and stuck her long tongue out of her mouth, looking like she was in a state of madness.
Hey, I already talked trash before the war, there's no need to say it again.
Xia Luo looked relaxed and contented, and his swordsmanship was a great advantage over an ant who didn't know much about swordsmanship. In particular, he possesses extremely divine swordsmanship. His swordsmanship is comparable to that of the world's greatest swordsman.
Maybe I can compete for the title of the world's greatest swordsman later.
Xia Luo thought in her heart. At the same time, he easily resisted the second stage ant with his 2 swords. In terms of brute strength, he is not inferior to Big Mom at all. Even if he is bigger than him, it is completely useless. Ah, go to hell, go to hell. The ant held Napoleon and kept slashing randomly, and every blow was powerful and heavy. Clang clang clang.
The sound of swords clashing was endless. Among them, Xia Luo has not hit the ant before, but she didn't leave any scars. They all have the same physique and cannot be broken.
It is also more difficult to hit the ant's internal organs with a powerful attack, because the fat of the ants overeating all year round can cushion the impact of the blow. The only 2 ways to defeat Big Mom are to attack her internal organs or heart, and the other is to drag her until she is exhausted.
But no matter which one it is difficult for ordinary people to do it.
Conqueror outside the field has already started fishing, and this battle is no longer something he can participate in. His strength is weaker than these two people, and the combination may have the opposite effect. But thanks to Xia Luo, time kept passing by, and news came from the kitchen that the wedding cake was finished. Send the cake over immediately, without delay. Katakuri looked delighted. He held a phone to contact the kitchen and urged Charlotte's children there to deliver the cake. Your Excellency Xia Luo, the wedding cake is on its way here. I'll leave it to you later.
Katakuri shouted loudly in the direction of Xia Luo.
Has half an hour passed so quickly? Hearing this, Xia Luo turned her head in confusion, but her body jumped away from its original position at a very fast speed, and the ant also held the sword with both hands and smashed it towards the previous position. Well, time flies so fast. It seems we can only get here today. Xia Luo looked regretful and sheathed her swords again. Huh, kid, do you want to surrender? Seeing Xia Luo take back her long sword, the ant asked doubtfully.
Ha 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 ha, if that's the case, then just go to hell. The next second she burst into laughter. The long sword in his hand kept waving, and his speed also increased a bit. Obviously, he wanted to get back all the anger he had received from the swordsmanship competition at this moment.
Xia Luo did not greet him and jumped away. Brother Katakuri, the wedding cake has been made. Let mom eat it. At this time, Charlotte Garrett and several of her brothers and sisters pushed a trailer to the edge of the battlefield and shouted loudly. Call out. Xia Luo, who was fighting with Auntie, dodged and left the battlefield. Huh, where did you go? Auntie kept turning her head and scanning the surroundings, trying to find Xia Luo. And Xia Luo had already arrived at Garrett's side outside the battlefield. Ah, Sir Xia Luo. Because of his sudden appearance, several people from the Charlotte family suddenly screamed in surprise.
Oh, it looks very good. No wonder Aunt always wants to eat this stuff.
Xia Luo rubbed her chin and looked at the several layered wedding cake.
Each layer is decorated with rose petals, but the most alluring thing is the fragrant cream on the surface.
Xia Luo couldn't help but scrape a little with her fingers and taste it. Delicious. Jonan couldn't help but smile happily. Auntie's chefs were really accomplished in desserts. The deliciousness of this cake is comparable to Perona's special ones. Chocolate bagel. If Your Excellency Xia Luo wants to eat, we can ask the chef to make one later. For now, let mom eat the cake quickly.
Seeing Xia Luo couldn't help but take a bite first, several people shouted anxiously.
They were afraid that Xia Luo couldn't bear it and ate the cake in one bite. Although this cake is 3 meters high, it is normal for people in the pirate world to be able to eat food larger than their body size in 10 breaths. Okay, don't worry, I won't finish the meal. Xia Luo waved her hand and said. But speaking of it, is this little horn of yours a decoration? Suddenly, Xia Luo's topic turned to Garrett, who was standing aside. I saw him looking at the little devil-like horn on her head with curious eyes.
These things don't look like ears, and Garrett also has normal ears. Is it a characteristic of some special race? As he thought about it, he wanted to touch these little horns more and more. However, his actions are still faster than his thoughts.
Pinch. Xia Luo's hands were stretched out and pinched directly on Garrett's horns. Then, as if he wasn't satisfied with the pinching feeling, he started to stroke it directly.
Ah! Several other Charlotte's children looked at this scene with their mouths wide open in shock.
Garrett is just like them, but with an extra blush on her face.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't help but get started. I didn't expect it to be the real thing. I thought it was a decoration or something. It's really interesting.
Are you a human of some special race? Oh, by the way, I have to let Auntie eat the cake quickly. Let's talk about it later. I think the race is quite interesting. Xia Luo came back from feeling Garrett's soft tentacles. Garrett's body in front of her was trembling slightly and she looked very angry. And Xia Luo also looked like a hindsight, and kept saying apologetic words.
Who makes his hands always faster than his brain? He can't control himself.
Hand. Roll. Then he picked up the cake and ran away quickly. Leiichi, are you okay? Several other people also came to their senses instantly and looked at Garrett with worried eyes. No. It's okay. Garrett's face flushed. Her body could no longer support herself and she collapsed on the ground.
The trembling body just now was not because of anger, but because of some weakness, like devil fruit soaked in seawater.
I don't know if the thing on the head is a decoration or a racial feature, but I just took it as a racial feature. If Xia Luo had known that Garrett's horns were set like a Saiyan's tail, she would have stroked them several times. But that's not what you are. Several people showed tangled expressions, hiding the little devil horns on her head. I told you, it's okay. Garrett suddenly shouted forcefully. Damn Xia Luo, how dare you? Jalight's face turned crimson, and she gritted her teeth and looked at Xia Luo's back. She put her head in her hands and pressed down the corner that Xia Luo had just touched. It still felt very sensitive to the touch. Don't think that this matter can be settled like this. I will get this debt back one day.
Garrett's face turned red and she thought angrily, but she looked like this. Get up and fall a bit like the Tsunere girl in the comics.
She remembered what her mother had told them before. Several daughters should be selected to marry Xia Luo, and then draw him into the Charlotte family. And she is one of several candidates for daughters. She vowed to make Xia Luo look good in the future. No matter what method she uses. On the other side, Xia Luo didn't know that Garrett had already written down what happened just now in her notebook. And will retaliate against him in the future, but Xia Luo thinks this is more of a welfare than revenge. Hey, big hyphenation point mom, look here. Xia Luo imitated the cake and shouted loudly, trying to attract the aunt's attention. What? Who are you? Are you also the one who wants to stop me from eating the wedding cake? Go to hell.
The aunt's attention was indeed attracted, and she slashed with the sword in both hands.
But now she seemed to have forgotten that she had just fought with Xia Luo, and just regarded everyone who stood in front of her as enemies. Even though he was still looking for Xia Luo just a minute ago, all that was left behind was her obsession with the wedding cake.
Oh, how come you have forgotten my existence so quickly? Are you more forgetful because you are old? Ha 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 ha.
Xia Luo laughed loudly, causing Katakori's face to darken.
Come and eat this, the wedding cake you've been dreaming of. Facing the attack, Xia Luo's right hand cleverly moved away from the blade, then raised the cake and smeared it on the ant's face.
Snapped. The huge cake not only filled Charlotte Linlin's big mouth, but also covered her entire face. Whether it's the members of the Charlotte Pirates watching the surveillance in the surveillance room, or the Charlotte children present.
Everyone looked at this scene in stunned silence.
Quote. The cake was ruined. Now, there is no time to make a wedding cake. What should I do? Why did you destroy the cake at this time? Golden Lion 2 Xia Luo wants her mother to destroy the cake island.
There is no way to stop Mom. Mom will destroy the cake island. Everyone was talking about why Xia Luo did this.
Some people have turned into the oar's posture and knelt on the ground, some collapsed and shouted. No, look, a soldier from the Charlotte Pirates pointed in the direction of Big Mom and shouted.
The person kneeling on the ground raised his head and looked at the ant's position.
I saw the ant who was standing still stuffing the cake into her mouth and licking it with her big tongue. Not a trace of cream was left on her face, and she almost licked all the makeup on her face.
Delicious. The ant slept on the ground like a child who had received something joyful, dancing to express her joy.
Chapter 108 Charlotte Linlin's Persecution. Great, Mom is finally back to normal. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief and laughed wildly.
But what Mr. Xia Luo did was too risky. If Mom didn't open her mouth, the cake would be ruined. The 19th son of the Charlotte family, Charlotte Monder said with a somewhat unhappy tone.
He is a rare thinker in the Charlotte family. He has a very good combat acumen and is also good at combat command. It may be because he is a person with the power of the book fruit, and he has read countless scriptures to give him combat commands. Therefore, he expressed dissatisfaction with Xia Luo's more risky method. Well, there's no need to say anything unnecessary, as long as the result is good. After all, it was Mr. Xia Luo who helped stop my mother from destroying the city. We should thank him, and there is no reason to ask him to do better. Katakori said in a deep voice, squinting at Monder, and his meaning was clearly expressed. Sorry, brother Katakori, I'm too talkative. Mondo suddenly came to his senses and responded to Katakori's words while sweating profusely. Under Katakori's gaze, he felt immense pressure and woke up. Yes, Xia Luo is a person of the same level of strength as her mother, so how can she ask him to do better? To be able to reach this point has already exhausted the benevolence and justice. He was a little bit crazy because of Xia Luo's lack of respect for his mother just now. If he would not criticize a strong man's actions for no reason at ordinary times, it would be tantamount to seeking death. It's good that you know, don't say such things again in the future. Katakori turned his head and closed his eyes, saying softly. He didn't want Xia Luo to have a lower impression of the Charlotte family because of such a trivial matter. Therefore, he will try his best to coordinate the situation within the family and improve Xia Luo's favor with the Charlotte family. It's so delicious, this is how it tastes. The ant held her cheeks with her hands and showed a happy smile. I kept chewing the cake in my mouth, feeling the rich sweetness of the cream on it. He didn't open his eyes again until he finished eating all the cake.
The first thing she noticed was Xia Luo in front of her.
Oh, the satisfied look on her face has not faded, but her eyes are full of question marks. 24 inches, isn't this the recently famous Golden Lion 2 Xia Luo? Why are you here?
The ant patted her belly with satisfaction and stood up. Mom, have you forgotten? You personally told me to invite Mr. Xia Luo to this tea party.
Katakori reminded from the side. Apparently, it was because the ant temporarily forgot the previous explanation after her syphoria ended, but she recalled it immediately after being reminded. Oh, yes, I still remember. I'm really looking forward to it. I can eat your and Smoothie's wedding cake later.
After Katakori's prompting, Anama immediately recalled it.
For the first time, I hugged my cheeks and savored the smell of the wedding cake just now.
It was precisely because she had previously sent Smoothie to seduce Xia Luo, and then let her marry into the Charlotte family.
I don't know what happened after that, but the ant thought about the wedding cake. As time went by, the ant wanted to eat the wedding cake more and more, and then she fell into a state of narcosis. No one in the Charlotte family could have imagined that their mother went berserk because she wanted to eat the wedding cake for Xia Luo and her daughter.
Mom, I haven't formally asked Your Excellency Xia Luo about your wishes on this matter, Katakuri reminded again. Originally, Smoothie was the one who brought it up after getting in touch with her first, but she didn't expect the aunt to spill the beans right here. But even if she didn't say it, Xia Luo guessed what she meant. Oh, I almost forgot. In that case, let me formally inform you now.
Golden Lion to Xia Luo, marry my daughter and join my pirate group.
With your help, I will definitely become the Pirate King, and then create a real world of nations, ha ha ha. The aunt opened her hands and invited Xia Luo with a cheerful smile.
Mom, is it too early for this matter? Your Excellency Xia Luo has not really understood our family yet. It will not be too late to mention it after Your Excellency Xia Luo truly understands us.
Katakuri said calmly. Well, I have to say it anyway, so why not tell him earlier? How about it? Shiki's successor. The aunt first said casually to Katakuri, then turned to look at Luo.
Summer. Although she faced Xia Luo with a smile, from Xia Luo's perspective, Charlotte Linlin's aura was constantly exploding towards him.
If you refuse, an irreversible disaster will come to your feet. What if I say no? Xia Luo's expression suddenly became playful. Xia Luo's main theme is one word, play. Yes, it is play. He really wants to see if the aunt can bear it. If you can't bear a war breaking out here, you are confident that you can take Reiju and leave here safely. At the same time, you can also declare war on Big Mom to find a reason for the subsequent battle. What? You actually rejected Mom? The Charlotte children at the edge had exaggerated expressions, cold sweat on their foreheads, and expressions of disbelief.
Duh. After hearing this, the aunt's expression really changed. The corners of his mouth that were originally raised happily gradually twitched and slowly bent down. The veins on his brow kept popping up, and his expression became fierce.
What? What did you say? Auntie asked again in a calm tone. But his expression has darkened, and his sense of oppression has become a little stronger.
The children of the Charlotte family also felt that something was not right about the atmosphere and took several steps back unconsciously, as if this place would turn into a battlefield in the next second. It is a battlefield where you will die if you get involved.
Wait, Mom. Katakuri stopped him at this moment.
If Auntie is allowed to continue making trouble like this, the relationship with Xia Luo will definitely break down. Katakuri really doesn't want to form a hostile relationship with Xia Luo easily unless it is absolutely necessary. What? Katakuri? The aunt turned her gloomy expression in Katakuri's direction. Her aura remained unchanged, but she asked with doubts in her eyes. This is her favorite son and the strongest one. Regarding his opinions, Aunt will still listen to some. Your Excellency Xia Luo hasn't spent much time with Smoothie and the others. I think it would be better to wait until Smoothie and the others have more contact with Your Excellency Xia Ling before asking for advice.
And I also have something I want to tell Mom. It's not convenient here. Faced with the oppressive momentum and questioning of the aunt, Katakuri could still keep his expression unchanged and spoke softly.
Is there something you want to tell me? The aunt looked at Katakuri with sharp eyes, then glanced at Xia Luo, and then scanned the surrounding environment.
What comes into view is a dilapidated forest with countless sword marks and potholes.
Oh, why was the forest destroyed? Is there an intruder? The aunt asked curiously.
No, this is Mom. You are suffering from syphoria and destroying this forest unconsciously. Katakuri said calmly. Kaido.
What? It turned out to be me who destroyed it. Ha 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 ha. Hearing this, the aunt laughed out loud and stretched out her hand to scratch her head. Then her expression returned to the smile she had at the beginning. In this case, Shiki's successor, you should enjoy the tea party for a few days first, and it won't be too late to make a decision later.
Garrett, Custard, Snayman, in the next few days you and Smoothie will entertain our distinguished guests. The aunt first said to Xia Luo, and then shouted to several children of the Charlotte family outside. 3 people were directly named, and they were all daughters who fit Xia Luo's aesthetic type. Auntie should do some research on this aspect first. Hey, do I want it too? Custard looked surprised and asked, pointing at his face.
But it is impossible for Aunt to answer this kind of question, because this is an order, not a request.
The reason Custard was surprised was because he was twice as old as Xia Luo, but he was actually sent out.
Is this a disguised admission that one's appearance can penetrate Xia Luo's eyes?
The world of pirates is also quite magical, and generally older people are polarized.
One side is getting fatter and uglier, while the other side maintains a young and beautiful appearance. Even though she is old, she still looks like a young girl.
Custard is obviously the latter. At the age of 43, she still looks like a 20-year-old woman.
Well, not only is he powerful, but he also looks very handsome. He looks like a prince. It seems that he has nothing to lose. It's better to say that I took advantage. Single quote.
Custard looked at Xia Luo's appearance, his face gradually turned rosy. Then I held my cheeks and fantasized in my mind, even thinking about what the child would be called in the future. This coquettish look looked like a love brain, which made Xia Luo a little stunned.
Garrett and Snamon both nodded silently. With Sister Smoothie. It seems not bad. It is normal for such an excellent man to have a few women. If I go with Sister Smoothie, I will definitely drain him dry and keep him firmly under my control. In your hands. In this way, he won't have more energy to find other women. Let Sister Garrett and Custad join in, so that the possibility of victory will be greater.
Snyman looked at Xia Luo carefully. His expression was very playful, and he had already made a plan in his heart. Compared to Custard's exclamation, there is also Snyman's inner drama.
Garrett didn't know what she was thinking in her heart. Not only did her face look gloomy, but her drinking complexion was also very complicated. I heard that you like this type of girl very much, so just enjoy it here for a while. I believe you will fall in love with it in the future, okay? The aunt laughed loudly and ignored Custad, and she didn't care at all about the fact that she had just pushed her daughters to Xia Luo.
In this sea, marriage is a normal thing. Weak kingdoms sought refuge by marrying into powerful kingdoms. However, there is also the possibility of being swallowed up by a powerful kingdom. This is a world where the weak eat the strong.
But now, it is a joint operation between powerful forces. If it can succeed, no matter how good it is. However, it is just a matter of sacrificing the happiness of several daughters. They don't care too much about this. There is nothing happier than being able to serve a strong man. Well, I really enjoyed the tea party. It would be great if I could stay for a few days. Xia Luo said with a casual expression. However, the tone revealed some disappointment, because my mother could still endure her riotous mood. It seems that Conqueror's persuasion is still very useful. In this case, then I should first enjoy myself according to the plan that my aunt made for me. Eat the icing first, and deal with the cannonball later. Explain. Well, Katakuri, how are the preparations for the tea party? It should be time to start. I heard that Shaw 493 Lot Linlin laughed loudly and asked about the situation at the Card 2 venue. Wait a minute. Katakuri didn't give an answer, but took out a phone bug. How is the situation at the tea party? After the call was connected, Katakuri asked Uisa directly without beating around the bush. Asked. Well, most of the guests have been appeased and the tea party has been rearranged. Everything can go on as usual, cuckoo. The voice coming from the other side was the eldest son of the Charlotte family, Charlotte Perospero. After the venue fell into chaos, he directed the soldiers to take all the guests away safely and then cleaned up the scene. Just so that the aunt can announce the start of the tea party as soon as she wakes up.
Everything is ready. Just wait for Mom to go over and announce the start of the tea party.
After hanging up the phone, Katakuri said calmly. Then let's hurry over. There's a tea party. I'm really looking forward to it. All kinds of desserts. Hearing this, the aunt put on a happy and expectant look, and her mouth kept secreting saliva.
The aunt took the lead and moved towards the venue. The others also recovered and followed her. They were really afraid of a fight between their mother and Xia Luo, but luckily Katakuri stopped it. It's nothing, and I'm not angry either. Garrett turned her head to the other side and said in a calm tone. Me too. Garrett, Custard, and Snyman were closely followed behind him, and they could be said to be inseparable. It's just Mom's order. Several children of the Charlotte family wiped the cold sweat on their foreheads and said with lingering fear. In comparison, Snyman was much more relaxed and agreed with a gentle smile. Luckily we didn't start a fight. Nanlet shook her head and said in an indifferent tone. What's wrong? Is Mr. Xia Luo angry with you, Garrett? She and Snyman did not arrive at the venue in the same batch as Garrett, so they did not witness the scene of Xia Luo exchanging Hudante's devil horn. Custard's face was flushed, his movements were twitchy, and he put his hands on his cheeks and said shyly. Hey, if you don't follow Big Mom, why are you following me? Xia Luo, who was walking together, asked curiously. The expression is also very natural, not like Custard's love brain. Custard asked with a curious look on his face. Well, Mom said she wants us to get in touch first and develop a relationship a little bit, so we will follow you until the tea party is over. What's wrong? Is it because what I did before made you angry? Xia Luo stretched her head and asked curiously. Chapter 109 The Sinister Xia Luo. I just touched the little horn on Garrett's head without permission out of curiosity. I didn't expect such a big reaction. Xia Luo touched his head, looking a little confused. What puzzled him was that Charlotte Linlin clearly valued him so much that he sent all these daughters to his side. And Garrett actually dared to show off to her. Is this little character important enough to disobey her aunt's orders? Isn't she afraid of being punished by her aunt after failing the mission? It's just a touch. You look like you were having a great time just now. I'm not a pet cat, too. I have remembered this grudge. After hearing Xia Luo's words, Garrett roared crazily in her inner world. Now she wanted to bite Xia Luo to death, but due to the huge disparity in strength, her reason made her give up this idea. What? Did you just touch Garrett's horn? Custard and Snyman opened their mouths and said forgivingly. What's wrong? Xia Luo asked doubtfully. Actually, the little horn on Garrett's head is very sensitive, so it can't be a taboo for anyone to touch. Well, although this is information only known to people within our family, it can be regarded as one of Garrett's weaknesses. For example, Beauvais wears a panda hood to prevent others from touching her. Custard first looked at Garrett with questioning eyes, and with the latter's silent acquiescence, he slowly opened his mouth to explain. Is it a sensitive part? What an interesting discovery. Xia Luo looked stunned and said in surprise. Are you concerned about this issue? Custard and Sneyman looked speechless and complained at the same time. Shouldn't most people be concerned about Garrett's weaknesses? And the first thing that Xia Luo thought of was the sensitive parts? What kind of brain circuit is there to think like this? The two of them complained in their hearts at the same time. Suddenly, Xia Luo stopped, then grabbed Garrett's hands and raised them in front of her chest. What are you going to do? Garrett was also shocked by this sudden move and couldn't help but ask loudly. I'm sorry, I just touched your breasts without your consent. Now I formally apologize to you, can you forgive me, Miss Garrett? Xia Luo was unmoved, her facial expression suddenly became affectionate, and she said apologetically. The three women opened their mouths wide in shock and could not make any sound, leaving only a sound like a strange scream. Would someone with the same strength as my mother actually apologize for something like this? It's incredible. The three girls thought in their minds at the same time that they could not imagine the scene of their mother apologizing. But Xia Luo was so generous. After knowing that it was her fault, she took the initiative to apologize to Smoothie. Haha, Mr. Xia Luo is really a gentleman. Sneyman, who was the first to wake up, covered his mouth and chuckled. As for Garrett, who was held by Xia Luo's hand and stared at deeply, her face was very rosy, her eyes were blurred, and her expression was slightly in a trance. As a strong guy who stands on the same level as my mother, he would actually take the initiative to apologize to me. He is so gentle. Garrett's originally dark inner world seemed to be stained with red clouds, and the whole world was filled with a pink atmosphere. The plan that he had just threatened to take revenge on Xia Luo was now gone, or in other words, forgotten in his mind. It seems that there is nothing wrong with marrying this guy according to mother's instructions. Garrett's face was rosy and her body was a little twitchy as if she was struggling. Xia Luo grabbed her palm. However, this force can be said to be minimal. Xia Luo didn't use any force at all. She could have struggled to get away. Therefore, it is said that it is her girlishness that causes her to behave like this. It's surprisingly easy to handle. Xia Luo had a well-planned expression in her heart. He is the movie star Xia Luo. There is no need to practice for small scenes like this. His emotions burst out naturally and he just acted in his true colors. The reason why it is so easy to be fooled is mainly due to the environment in which the children of the Charlotte family have lived since childhood. No one dares to really pursue them, and they look down on the weak, resulting in many daughters being older leftover girls. Without their mother's care, many would not even get married. This also leaves their love relationship empty. Xia Luo has not yet used it. Without any force, they fell down first. Just like Custard, it's almost like a reverse. Xia Luo's face kept getting closer, as if she wanted to FK her, and the two women next to her covered their mouths in surprise. Garrett's eyes were blurred and she didn't know what she was thinking. But did Xia Luo really do this for the sake of strategy? No, just for fun. Let's play first. Sorry, if I want to touch you in the future, I will tell you first up pointing arrow. Then, my husband. Oh no, Miss Garrett, I want to touch you, touch. Xia Luo stretched out her sinful palms again and pinched the corners of Garrett's head with both hands. Click. The three of them froze in place as if struck by lightning. Garrett's pink inner world was also directly split open by this thunder. This guy is truly unforgivable. The veins on Garrett's forehead popped out, her fists were clenched hard, and her silver teeth were almost broken. In reality, Garrett's originally reddish face became even more rosy. His lips pursed slightly, and his body kept trembling slightly. The only thing that didn't change was the pair of beautiful eyes staring at Xia Luo. That, Mr. Xia Luo, you can't do this, it will make Garrett feel uncomfortable. Custard said with a very embarrassed look on his face. One side is her sister, and the other side may be her future husband. It is very difficult for her to be caught in the middle. Guo mi, it's so cute, I couldn't help but touch it again. Xia Luo showed a harmless smile and kept saying apologetic words. However, there was no hesitation in the movements of his hands, and he continued to knead Garrett. The proficiency of this technique seemed to be as high as that of a young king. What's so cute? Even if you say that, I won't forgive you. Garrett's face was red and she glared at Xia Luo fiercely. Until Garrett was exhausted and about to collapse, Xia Luo hugged her with quick eyes and hands, and then picked her up like a princess. I fell in love accidentally. I'm really sorry. To express my apologies, let me be Miss Garrett's knight for the rest of the journey and escort you to the tea party venue. Xia Luo said softly in a gentle tone. He doesn't know why, but he always finds it very interesting to play with Garrett, just like he played with Perona on the boat. In fact, most of the women on Xia Luo's ship have been played by him in various ways to one degree or another. It's just that big sister types like Robin Reiju laugh it off and don't take it too seriously. Otherwise, Vivi and Kaya were too young, and the Maid of God duo would unconditionally cooperate with Xia Luo's actions. Nami and Karina already understand Xia Luo's nature and occasionally have dark thoughts. Khalifa said, "You are sexually harassing me," and ran away. So only Perona is the most interesting, and now there is another one. Ugly. Who do you think caused me to do this? Garrett looked at Xia Luo fiercely and couldn't help but curse in her heart. In her eyes, Xia Luo's gentle smile was a playful smile, as if it were mocking herself. Custard and Sneyman looked at each other. Neither of them knew what to say. As expected, strong people would have some unknown hobbies or bad tastes. The Xia Luo in front of me probably likes to bully girls very much, in every sense of the word. The three of them had new insights into Xia Luo. He looks like a very gentleman, but he is a bit sinister. In his normal state, he does not have the majesty of a strong man, and he is more casual when getting along with him. The three of them silently remembered this information in their hearts. Put me down. Garrett felt a little ashamed. There were so many brothers and sisters in front of her, if they all saw her embarrassing appearance. How can I hold my head high in the family in the future? No, I am your knight now, escorting you to the tea party venue. Before, you, the princess, just listen to me. Xia Luo looked serious at Kaido. Princess, what a weirdo. Seeing that her resistance was fruitless, Garrett gave up her struggle and could only mutter in a low voice. It's so romantic, Garrett, you must be very happy to have such a handsome knight. Custard showed envious eyes and said cheerfully. Haha, it's true. Unless you are a giant with a body like mine, you will never be able to enjoy such a comfortable princess hug. Sneyman on the side also laughed at the right time. The person involved was already blushing, her head was bowed and she wanted to bury it in the big rabbit on her chest. Xia Luo was really worried that she would become a steam girl and overheat. How about it? The ant walking in front smiled and asked Katakuri beside her. It seems that we are getting along well. Mr. Xia Luo is very fond of Sister Garrett. Katakuri's bland Kaido. Neither of them turned around to look at the past, but they were still very concerned about the situation over there. Learn. Because they have been paying attention to Xia Luo, after all, Xia Luo is still an outsider, and they have not yet fully trusted her. So every move is still subject to their attention. Xia Luo also knew, but he didn't care. Garrett, good, okay. The ant nodded in agreement, and then laughed. This scene also aroused the curiosity of the children of the Charlotte family nearby. What on earth did her mother and Katakuri brother talk about that could make her so happy? Soon, everyone returned to the tea party venue again. This place has been rearranged, and the originally damaged walls are intact. The chaotic venue also became orderly, with all the decorations and guests seated again. Most of them are nobles from the kingdom or prominent figures invited by Big Mom. I have to say that the children of the Charlotte family are really capable. How can they take care of everything in a short time and keep all the guests intact? Mom is here. As soon as Charlotte Linlin appeared on the stage, the audience began to cheer, no matter how many times it was the first time to attend the tea party. They all started cheering to celebrate Linlin's arrival at the same time. Linlin, long time no see, she has become beautiful again recently. One of the 6 giants of the dark world, Stussy greeted Auntie with a smile on her face. She is an undercover agent of the world government and an agent of the CPO, but she is very successful in the dark world and has a pretty good relationship with Big Mom. The most important thing is that she is sweet-tongued, good at making connections, and what she says makes her happy. Place Auntie doesn't mind if Stussy calls her by her first name. Stussy, long time no see. How are you lately? The ant also replied happily. Well, thanks to you, business has been pretty good recently. I brought a nice gift this time. I believe Linlin you will like it very much after you open it. Cuxie's big eyes turned into crescent moons, and his soft cheeks showed a smile. She looks like a beautiful and gentle young woman. If everyone present was not very familiar with her identity, they would probably be hurt by her appearance. But in fact, everyone was deceived by her. No one could have imagined that she could be an undercover agent to this extent. I can only praise the world government's intelligence department for being really powerful. Well, Stussy, you are still interested. I am really looking forward to your gift more and more. After a few words of greeting, everyone began to offer their gifts. Although it has been delayed for a long time from the scheduled time, the tea party was still held as scheduled. 3 soldiers appeared like chess pieces. 1 soldier held a photo frame in his hand, and 2 soldiers appeared behind him. Wow, the ant looked at the photo with joy. Xia Luo's seat was, nicely, on the table next to her, so she could clearly see the photo. This world is in chaos, and it is normal for pirates to burn, kill, and loot, and I will not disturb anything unless it is my enemy. Mom, Sister Carmel has arrived, the soldier said respectfully after putting down the photo. There are really beautiful girls of all different races and styles, of all ages. The quintuplets were also placed at the next table, and the quintuplets were sitting opposite Xia Luo. But Xia Luo didn't mind his own business. Anyway, he was an old guy who had been dead for 61 years. Almost all the twin sisters were assigned to Xia Luo's table by the ant. In that world, human traffickers were a profession worthy of death. Moreover, almost all of his table were women from the Charlotte family. Charlotte Linlin really spent a lot of money to be able to do this. It's enough to see how much she attaches importance to this person. Prim and Praline, the mermaid sisters. Sisters Smoothie and Snayman, Sisters Custard and Angelo, Sisters Garrett and Povil, 2 sisters from an unknown race, Mabel and Takuru, 2 sisters from the Longhand tribe, and... That's right, this is our nun, Auntie said with a look of longing and happiness on her chest with her hands clasped in fists. In addition, there are Pudding's sister Bloyer, the little Malays in a gorgeous dress, and even Pudding, who is only 14 years old, are arranged here. The aunt felt so hungry that he even arranged for the 14-year-old Pudding, as well as the legal Lolita Malays. Tisk, tisk, it turns out to be this human trafficker, Xia Luo thought disdainfully in her heart. But the profession of human traffickers is really very annoying, no matter where you are. Then Xia Luo stopped paying attention there, because it was too boring and not as attractive as the dessert in front of her. And this guy from Carmel can actually be praised to this extent by this guy from Big Mom. Chapter 110 The Appetite of the Big Eater, Mr. Xia Luo, ah. Custard picked up a cream puff with a smile on his face and fed it to Xia Luo affectionately. This thing is really a cream puff, not what you think. There was a drop of sweat on Xia Luo's forehead with an embarrassed yet polite smile. He always felt that Custard's love-minded attitude was like treating a child, but it actually contained a hint of admiration. And Xia Luo didn't expect that one day she would be fed cream puffs by a woman. It was really amazing. He ate the dessert she handed him casually. Hee. Reiju, who was on Xia Luo's right, covered her mouth and chuckled. She was quite happy to see this scene. She felt a little unnatural feeling in Xia Luo. Could this be the love brain's special attack on Poseidon? Even Poseidon like Xia Luo feels a little uncomfortable. It can be seen that Custard's stickiness really bothers Xia Luo. Captain Xia Luo, I don't know if it was jealousy or something else, but Reiju also imitated Custard's behavior just now, picked up a cream puff and handed it to Xia Luo's mouth. However, Reiju's appearance is more seductive, and her seductive pink lips also show amazing charm as she opens and closes them. If Custard treats him like a child, then Reiju's behavior is like flirting between lovers who have lived together for a long time. But Xia Luo, who knows Reiju well, certainly understands what she means. This is Reiju's teasing of herself. He bit the puff that Reiju handed him fiercely, and finally licked her finger gently. Unexpectedly, Reiju actually put the finger he had licked into his mouth and sucked it. It's so sweet, Captain Xia Luo. Reiju was like a succubus, speaking softly in a seductive tone. I don't know if the sweetness she mentioned was the remaining dessert or something else. This move actually made Custard next to him very angry. What a shameless woman. Custard was gnashing his teeth and complaining in his heart. I want to be a difficult enemy. This woman's status in Xia Luo's heart seems to be quite high. Smoothie and the Snayman sisters frowned. Garrett on the other side closed her eyes tightly and turned her head away. Her sister Boval was quite interested in this and opened her mouth with a smile. Like her, Neplany of the Mermaid clan opened her mouth and smiled, finding this scene quite interesting. The other daughters of the Charlotte family were all blushing and felt restless. How bold. This is the same thought in their hearts. Reiju's gesture just now was something they couldn't learn from. Hey, who is that boy over there? He can actually sit with so many daughters of the Charlotte family, and he can even be fed by Miss Custard herself. At the edge of the venue, a middle-aged man with a mustache asked the people around him curiously. He was one of the few people who did not witness Xia Luo arriving at the scene on Tianhui Dragon. Either he came later than Xia Luo, or he just went to the toilet. In short, there were still some people at the scene who had no impression of Xia Luo. I just felt that Xia Luo's face seemed to have been seen somewhere before, but because it was too far away, I couldn't see it completely, so I couldn't recall who it was for a while. Hey, you're desperate, you dare to talk about that adult, and you still use this tone. The guy next to him covered the man's mouth to prevent him from making a sound. What are you doing? This is the territory of the Charlotte family, so what's going on? What else can he do to me? The middle-aged man with a mustache broke free from his restraints and spoke with a dissatisfied expression on his face. You still said, that is the most famous figure on the sea recently. Xia Luo, known as Golden Lion 2, is a super powerful pirate. If I hear you talking about him, be careful and your life will be in danger, the man explained anxiously. What? He is the Golden Lion 2, Xia Luo, who has been the most popular recently. The middle-aged man with a mustache exclaimed with a horrified look on his face. His back was now covered in cold sweat. The female companion beside him also looked horrified and looked at him with worried eyes. Then he lowered his head silently, trying to make himself invisible to others, but this was just an ostrich's way of burying his head in the sand, hiding his ears and stealing his bell. Fortunately, no one else noticed him, so they breathed a sigh of relief. But Xia Luo, who has a keen sense of knowledge, has already known it, but he is not interested in this kind of passerby character who is not even a miscellaneous fish. When Katakuri saw no reaction from Xia Luo, he didn't say anything more. Of course, with his observation Haki, he could hear what was said there. These are just minor episodes. Mr. Xia Luo, the themed dessert for this tea party hasn't been served yet, won't you be able to eat it later? Smoothie asked with some worry and curiosity. Xia Luo eats so fast, almost as fast as her aunt. The snacks on the table kept disappearing, and Homies, who was responsible for getting the food, almost never stopped. When Xia Luo finished one batch, he was ready to go to the kitchen to get the second batch. Fortunately, the Charlotte family was well prepared for this tea party, and there was a mountain of sweets. No problem, this is just an appetizer. I can't eat several times as much as before. Xia Luo didn't care and directly stated her current status. Have appetizers? That's awesome. The girls looked surprised. Even though they had eaten a lot, they were not as scary as Xia Luo. In fact, every strong person is very good at eating, but few people can reach the level of Xia Luo. This reminded the children of the Charlotte family of someone. That is my mother. My mother also has the same stomach of the abyss, as if there is a bottomless pit that cannot be filled. Xia Luo is as strong as her mother. Does every strong person start by being able to eat? The daughters of the Charlotte family thought in their hearts. Has Mr. Xia Luo always had such a good appetite? Malai's next to Reiju asked her. I still have no impression of this 33-year-old legal beauty who is as short as a legal Lolita. This is a girl who has rarely appeared, even Xia Luo has not been seen in the animation. This is a little transparent character, after all, Auntie has too many children, and there will always be a few who have never appeared. Captain Xia Luo has always had such a big appetite. No matter what kind of appetite he has, it's like a bottomless pit. You have to be prepared, he might not be satisfied even after eating the food. Reiju's charming voice said meaningfully, at the same time, it is also hinting at something. As for what it is, only a few women can guess. Gulu. I don't know whose swallowing sound sounded, but it broke the atmosphere where the only sound was Xia Luo eating. Ahaha, don't worry, Ms. Reiju. The spare dessert ingredients in the kitchen can be eaten for a long time even if everyone present eats them. There is absolutely no problem. Custard smiled and said haha to ease the embarrassment. Era, that's the best. Reiju looked at her with interest, seeming to say that it would be great if you could satisfy her. This look made Custard panic, and then he glanced at Xia Luo without leaving any trace, and became even more nervous. Clang 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 clang. As a burst of music sounded, the deputy mayor Bao Bao also appeared. He sang strange songs and danced at the same time, and came to an open space reserved for the venue. Themed desserts are out. The children of the Charlotte family all looked at the baguette with excited eyes. Obviously this themed dessert also has great appeal to them. What kind of themed dessert is it? I'm really looking forward to it. Xia Luo also stopped what she was doing and said expectantly. The chef team in the Cake Island is really good at their craftsmanship, and they are all made from carefully selected ingredients, CECJ. Being able to eat such delicacies without any reservation, Xia Luo is quite satisfied with this trip to many countries. Caramel puff tart, please enjoy. As the chef drew a circle with the dagger in his hand, a mountain-like caramel puff tower emerged from the ground. Each one exudes a sweet smell, which is simply fascinating. Ah, this is the smell, caramel puff tower. The ant held her fists with both hands on her cheeks, her mouth was wide open and exposed, countless saliva flowed out of it, and her eyes directly turned into the shape of love hearts. Although Xia Luo on the side is not a sweet tooth, the smell is indeed too sweet. The saliva in his mouth has been secreting, and his eyes are fixed on the caramel puff tower. Mr. Xia Luo also seems to like it very much. Haha, this caramel puff tart is made with all kinds of dreamy ingredients from the sea. Mom has been looking forward to it for a long time. Seeing Xia Luo's look, Smoothie sitting opposite her also chuckled. I am also full of confidence in the dessert made from this dreamy ingredient. Everyone, you're welcome, let's start enjoying. The eldest man, Parasparrow, extended his hand to express his gratitude and directed the homies to bring out plate after plate of small caramel puff towers and place them on each table. But the two figures disappeared in an instant. Parasparrow, who was standing next to the caramel puff tower, felt a strong wind whistling by, and then was blown aside. What's going on? What happened? Where am I? Parasparrow looked confused, his nose was running, and his eyes showed confusion. He felt that in an instant he was knocked to the ground by the strong wind, and his hat was blown to an unknown place. Brother Parrows, are you okay? Katakuri walked to Parasparrow and stretched out his hand to help him up, asking in his usual calm tone. Parasparrow shook his head, then turned to look at the caramel puff tower. I saw that the ant was now sitting in front, her eyes turned into the shape of love hearts, and tears kept coming out of the corners of her eyes. His hands kept stuffing the caramel puffs in front of him as fast as afterimages appeared. In the mouth. It's so delicious that I want to cry. The ant shed tears while eating and could still make a sound in her mouth. Awesome. This is delicious food made with dreamy ingredients, it tastes like nothing I've ever tasted before. Xia Luo's figure was floating in the air, and her hands were stuffing caramel puffs at the same speed as afterimages. All the guests present were so shocked by the eating speed of the two that they stopped moving, and beads of sweat broke out on their foreheads. The whole place was silent, everyone in homies watched the two people eating continuously. That body. How did it eat so much food? Where did the food disappear to? A guest who finally came to his senses couldn't help but murmured to himself. Because Xia Luo is only 2 meters tall and the caramel puff tower is 30 meters tall, even if she is 8. Charlotte Linlin, who is 8 meters tall, also looks small. You must know that the giants are only about 20 meters tall, so even they can't eat so many caramel puffs. But every caramel puff that is the size of a normal human head is constantly disappearing. Lose. The entire tower is rapidly shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. Finally someone couldn't help it anymore and blurted out. This attracted approval from other people, and they couldn't help but nod their heads. The ant and Xia Luo, who were eating like crazy, seemed to be unable to hear the sounds from the outside world and only focused on stuffing food into their mouths. The scene returned to its original bustle under the control of Charlotte's children, and no one else paid attention to Xia Luo and the others. It was okay at first. Xia Luo and Charlotte Linlin were eating normally. Until the two of them destroyed the entire caramel puff tower, leaving only one caramel puff on the ground. Auntie's and Xia Luo's hands stretched out at the same time, and they both grabbed the caramel puff. Huh? They both frowned at the same time. Ah, little devil. You have eaten so much, the last caramel puff should be mine. The aunt's expression was displeased, and the smile that was originally evoked by happiness was bent, and she stared at him fiercely and said, "Are you kidding me, old woman? As a guest, I should enjoy the most. The latter is the right food." Xia Luo's eyes also turned into triangular white eyes, and her mouth turned into the shape of shark teeth, and she replied without any sign of weakness. In the end, the two of them bumped their foreheads together and looked at each other fiercely. "Let me go," the ant yelled. "It's you who should be let go, Xia Luo Kaido." "Mom, Mr. Xia Luo, Brother Katakuri, what should we do now?" Custard looked panicked and wanted to persuade the two of them, but he was unable to speak. In the end, he could only look at Katakuri with this look of help. "Are they all brats? I don't know why this sentence is read normally in Japanese." Katakuri also had a frown on his face, and stretched out his hand to pinch his eyebrows, hoping to relax them. But the future predicted through observation Haki is not too bad. "Mom, Mr. Xia Luo, we still have caramel puffs here. If you don't mind, you can share them equally." Kotaku held up the few sugar puffs left on the table and said to the two of them, "Shut up." What came back was a roar from the two of them. Katakuri could only take back the plate he was holding angrily. This is also the result of his prediction of the future, but he does not intend to change this future.